What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the You Know Ball podcast. I am your host, Trill Bro Dude. And Sam, before we get into anything else at all, I have been demanded that you give your full official statement on Marcus Smart signing with the Los Angeles Lakers.
I didn't know that. What happened? He signed?
With who?
What can you say? He was a tremendous player. I'm very sad to hear that. Very sad indeed. I guess I'll start here. What are the Lakers doing? Like, you trade Anthony Davis to get Luka Doncic, and now you're benching him? Doesn't make any sense.
Point guard controversy in Hollywood.
Why are you look, Luka Doncic is one of the 5 best players in the NBA. I just don't understand. So why are you bringing that guy off the bench? It seems like they're angling to trade Luka Doncic because you just can't have a guy who's made that many first team All NBAs coming off the bench for you.
We heard what they did with Dorian Finney-Smith. The rumor allegedly was that they called around and they told teams about his injury history when he was a free agent. Maybe they're trying to Luka's free agent a year from now. Maybe they're trying to get his value driven down and say, we're not going to max a bench player, a player who, wins 6th man of the year. Sure. Look at the market for that. That's $15-20 million a year. We're not going to give you $55 to $70 million per year when you're giving us the production that we could get with the MLE.
He's lost 4 times as many finals games as he's won. It's a real stat. You can't have a win. They're not a winner, So, meanwhile, Marcus Smart has won 2 finals games for every 4 that he's lost. So, who's the better player?
Undeniable fact.
Facts. Yeah.
You're breaking my brain with facts and logic right now. Maybe Nico Harrison was onto something.
Yeah. All I can say is the Boston Media Mafia has once again, we've planted our greatest sleeper agent yet to date.
He's just going
great, or he's throwing on purpose. I've already decided that this is a win-win situation for me. If he's good, I win. If he's bad, he's destroying the Lakers on purpose, and I win. So,
he's basically going on a revenge tour now on behalf of the Boston Media Mafia, just going everywhere, dropping napalm and destroying franchise after franchise. The Celtics imperialism is undefeated.
He's the Robert Maxwell of the NBA.
I'm always saying this. Saying this about Marcus Smart, your favorite player. Who
I hope, stay away from boats, Marcus. Don't get on any boats.
So anyway, Nico Harrison will come up a lot in here. There will be a few different people that will come up a lot in this segment.
Do you want to run through the exercise? Do you want to tell everyone the exercise?
We're gonna do the exercise. They clicked on the image. They know what they're about to get themselves into. We're gonna go over. I have gone through every single trade since 2015. Have you ever seen the hard drive article that's like, we taught the chimpanzee the average American voter and he hanged himself? We taught him about the average American voter's opinions and he hanged himself. This is how I feel after reading every single trade since 2015. I'm on the brink of collapse right now. I really do feel as though no one should read that much information about the NBA over the course of, I literally just started today, and I have plenty of notes here. We were going to do a section at the end where we reviewed some albums. I don't even think we're going to have time to get to that. That might have to be pushed back until a future episode here, because we got some great trades to go over here. The worst trades of the last decade. So 2015 to present, the worst trades that have happened, that have shifted the league, that have affected the championship race, that have potentially ended dynasties. There's many things that can be covered here. I will give the floor to you if you would like to take the first pick. There are many great candidates for the first pick. I think there's one that might stand head and shoulders above the others here, but it's up to you. Do you want to take the first pick in this?
I want a little bit of clarification
Okay.
on words. Is this our own opinions? Because as I was going around, because there's some projection sort of involved with some of this.
Of course.
With some of these, in terms of like how damaging the trade is. Could this hurt something? Like what? How is it going to play out? Yada yada yada. So I think it's kind of hard to say. And the other thing I was going to say is, are we basing it on magnitude of worseness for one team, or are we combining how badly it turned out for both teams making the trade? Because that also dramatically changes it. Like, you know what I'm saying?
You could take it in whatever direction you would like. This was my formula. How bad was it for one of the teams involved?
Okay.
Like what trades either ended contention windows, destroyed teams entirely, benefited the other team so much more that it was one of the most lopsided trades in the history of the NBA. Those kind of things. The general criteria here is what was the effect of this trade for one of the teams involved, at least. There are some trades where there are lose-lose trades, there are win-win trades. I tried to cover the ones that had the most damage to a team making a trade. So it's up to you, whatever you would like. You just have to make the argument, but that's my general rubric here.
Okay. I'll let you go first because I'm still kind of making up my mind based on this.
All right. Well, it feels like a little bit of a chip shot for me.
Okay.
Because this is a trade that has been talked about to death. This is a trade that a little bit of hindsight. I don't even want to say hindsight bias because I think everyone was blown away by it at the time. But considering, let me go on my Zach Lowe rant here. They had to make the trade.
Oh, okay.
The Paul George for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and 6-7 first-round picks trade, in retrospect, literally just directly led to the first title of possibly many for the Oklahoma City Thunder. While the Clippers ended up getting to the Western Conference Finals and had a good amount of success and continue to kind of pivot their way out of being a disaster in a way that I think a lot of incompetent franchises wouldn't be able to overcome if they made a trade this bad. I still think when you consider what the Clippers got back, and if we want to run down kind of what that was, I have a list of the things that they did end up trading in addition to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Now, the trade originally was Paul George and obviously Kawhi Leonard being attached as well. And the Clippers end up sending Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and so far the trade has netted Trey Mann in the 2021 draft, which turned out to not be anything great for OKC. Jalen Williams as well, and there are other picks. Basically, what OKC consistently does is they make these trades where they're like, because they have so many picks, this will come up throughout the exercise here, which is that because OKC has so many picks, they're consistently trading picks and moving back. And we talked about the fact that they even hopped in on the Harden trade when the Clippers got Harden, and they ended up getting another swap from the Clippers in 2027. They continue to just bet against the Clippers, but ultimately what this trade netted was 2 Hall of Fame players. Like, Jalen Williams is on track to make the Hall of Fame. I know that you've kind of come around to him recently. He was a little bit of your punching bag for a while. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's already won an MVP, Finals MVP, best player on a title team. Jalen Williams, second best player on a title team. I can't think of any trade in NBA history where the team gets 2 players that are the 2 best players on a championship team in one trade. I don't think it's ever happened before. I don't think there's even anything that you can compare it to. Now, there are obviously trades where you might get an MVP, you might get multiple really good players, but to get an MVP and a second option with another lottery pick that was included in this trade, to turn around and win a championship with the youngest core in the history of the NBA, this has to be number one, even though the Clippers have had a decent amount of success themselves. And honestly, Paul George helped them get to that one conference finals. They've had multiple chances to win the championship, and Kawhi either gets hurt or Paul George and Kawhi, like in the bubble, didn't necessarily do enough to get them to, the championship. I just think if your criteria is what are the most damaging trades and ones that reward the other team, I feel as though this one has to be number one. Just it is the biggest trade in the history of the NBA, I think.
So the thing about this one is, because I would agree with you, there's no doubt about the reward side, right? But this is probably the most a team has ever won a trade.
Yes,
I would say. Like I think this is a trade where it's a literal franchise defining haul. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like if they don't make this trade, like if Paul George doesn't resign, we've talked about this like with Presti,
sure.
Before. Like if he doesn't convince Paul George to resign, like there's a very different rebuild. This is, as you just laid out, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams. There's a lot of stuff that's downstream of this. Pretending Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was hurt for 2 years to get Chet Holmgren. That's like there's a lot of like pieces to setting up the Thunder like championship core here. What I would push back on a little bit, and I think it's something that I've changed my mind on a little bit in like the last 2 years, is I don't think it was as damaging to the Clippers as I thought it was going to be. I think
considering what the Clippers have, if you're putting it on a scale of ruining your franchise and rewarding the other ones, there are going to be some other ones on here that might have a larger. There are trades that have larger imbalances. I don't disagree with that. Mm-hmm. But the high point for the other team being potential dynasty combined with two Hall of Famers, and someone just commented and said, well, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are Hall of Famers. Yes, okay, they're also in their 30s. And they're at a different stage of their career relative to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander becoming an MVP, still being in his prime, and J-Dub not even reaching his prime yet. And once again, a little bit of this is, okay, well, what if the argument, if you wanted to have some Clippers coat, which is the Clippers are still, contenders in the NBA. They've made out very well considering how much they gave up in this trade and how lopsided it looked like it was going to be and blah, blah, blah. I don't disagree with that. The cope you can say is, well, they selected Jalen Williams with our pick, but they also took Ousmane Dieng with the pick prior to Jalen Williams in the draft, and they traded 3 first-round picks to get that, so they could take multiple swings on these guys. If they decided to not make that second trade, it's possible they just draft Ousmane Dieng. They don't get Jalen Williams. Yeah. And then it's Ousmane Dieng and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and then virtually the trade ends up being Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for Paul George. Now that's a lopsided trade, but the reason why OKC has been able to have the luxury to take a swing on a guy like Jalen Williams is because they just have a laughable amount of picks. Like we talk about this all the time. Like they're consistently trading first round picks for they're consistently trading picks that they have for swaps, like that might never convey in the future. So they have this luxury to be able to take these kind of risks. But once again, the only other trade in history someone just pointed out that is virtually this is the Tatum and Brown trade. And the Tatum and Brown trade, if we had a longer window here in this, would be number one. If we went back 15 years, okay, that trade was made 12 years ago. You can't include that in this exercise. But to me, the only other one, it's the only one that's comparable, and it's much worse for the Nets than it was for the Clippers, because the Clippers at least got Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, had that window. They've pivoted to the James Harden window, and they're still one of the 6 or 7 best teams in the NBA.
And that was what made the Nets trade so much better for the Celtics in retrospect, because the Nets fell apart so quickly and in an alarming way, that I think was something like that. And the other thing about the Suns are the only comparable analog for that. The Suns are a better one where we're kind of talking about the Beal trade, because the Nets trade was also the end point of other bad trades.
Yes.
There was the Gerald Wallace, Damian Lillard trade that started it. You had the Joe Johnson trade, which compounded it. And then that was the all or nothing move in was the Nets. And that's where, and that's, we'll probably get to some more trades like this, but when you're up against the wall, you make worse trades, you know,
Right.
like, and that is
you're getting more desperate.
You're getting more desperate, and that's kind of, you know, what's happened in some of these.
And
other
to be
trades
fair, the Clippers could have had that happen to them with the James Harden trade, but they paid a decent price for James Harden and then actually ended up winning that trade because them letting Paul George doesn't look as bad now that they've been able to use all of the things that they wouldn't be able to use their MLE to get the guys that they've gotten. They wouldn't be able to get guys in sign-in trades that they've gotten. Like they've basically turned Paul George into like 6 rotation players. And at the time when we were like, well, they're letting Paul George walk, and why didn't they just trade him for James Harden? Well, now we're seeing why. Like they gave up a little bit more, but they ended up coming out with a much deeper team, and they've revived James Harden's career, which has then directly led to, funny enough, them signing Bradley Beal, who could end up maybe having another career revival with them. So once again, the Clippers have run their team very well since this trade. I don't, I'm not saying that they're a bad front office. I still think they're a very good front office, but they also were paying a premium when we were getting towards the end of these style of trades. And we were shifting from, you have to have now, to be fair, you probably still have to have 2 stars, but we have shifted from, you know, like you need a Kawhi Leonard, Paul George duo to win a championship to like, there are multiple different ways you can kind of build your team. And the way that they've built with this current roster and going 10 deep, 11 deep might be a better chance for them to win. Although I guess they have had some somewhat deep teams over the last few years.
My only other thing, because there's no doubt this is one of the at least 3 worst trades, I would say, of the last 8 years. The only other thing, too, is that there is also the condition that if you consider this a condition of Kawhi Leonard signing with the team, and it becomes essentially Kawhi Leonard and Paul George for that package, it's still, again, it's still the most the team has ever won a trade for the Thunder, but it makes the franchise, and they had a shot to like win the title. They just got injured, you know, and sorry, sometimes that's the breaks, like them's the breaks that
but it's very similar to what I've been saying about the Sixers with Paul George and Joel Embiid. That's not a valid excuse if you're acquiring players who are consistently injured. And you knew that Kawhi was always a risk, which, by the way, anyone would have signed Kawhi. I'm not saying they wouldn't have, but you also knew that Paul George was a risk by that point. Paul George was not the most available guy in the world. Now it got even worse as he got older, but if you're acquiring players who have the injury risk, if that's an inherent risk you take. And the second thing I will say they had to trade for Paul George to get Kawhi Leonard. Now look, maybe they wanted to save face, because if Kawhi Leonard signs with the Lakers, that was the alternative, right? Kawhi Leonard signing with the Lakers, and then everyone going, oh my God, they have Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and Kawhi Leonard. They're going to be a dynasty, and we're the Clippers, and we're still the sad sack team here, and blah, blah, blah. I get that. Having said that, I always think about this Daryl Morey thing, which is funny because Daryl Morey will come up multiple times during this for some bad moves he made. But the thing that I think about is when he always says your job as a GM or a front office is to convince the owner that you're doing the right thing, basically, and that you're bad at your job if you're not convincing the owner or Kawhi or whoever that, like, no one could have ever seen Shai Gilgeous-Alexander becoming an MVP candidate, but after his first season, we definitely could have seen him becoming an all-star.
I was going to say,
that was like I knew a lot of people who thought that after his rookie season. Like, it's not an uncommon opinion.
I think my first offseason with the pod, we had a very famous freak out at Bill Simmons for having SGA. Like, where did he have him? Like 60s or something like that? He had him on his like trade value,
45 or something on his.
And we thought that was absurd.
He had him below Bradley Beal, who just signed the Supermax.
And we were like, "There's no way." Like so we've always been pretty big fans of like SGA, not necessarily to this extent, but the All-Star thing was like pretty easy to see coming, especially like and that became even more clear once he got like a chance to kind of study under Chris Paul, learn about fascism and how to be a dictator.
Last question on this though for you.
Yes.
If the Clippers could hit reset go back in time. What would you do if you were the Clippers, knowing that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, well, let's not even say MVP, knowing he was going to become an All-NBA player? Do you just go, Kawhi, we're signing you and we're keeping Shai and would you use everything else they had just to build out the rest of the roster? Because, by the way, they also had Zubac, but we didn't know Zubac was going to be Zubac. So it's one of those things where, like, their team would have been very good no matter what. But what do you do differently, I guess, is my question here.
I mean, having SGA, losing SGA is bad, like, no matter what. Now, the Clippers haven't exactly been in an advantageous position for this, but they're not exactly – SGA is, like, pretty much their only good draft pick in, like, years. Everybody else they've traded for or, like Jerome Robinson was also selected in that draft. Like, they don't do a good job in the draft. You know what I'm saying? So, like –
but they would have 6 or 7 first-round picks to trade, is my point.
They could try to, like, make some other things. I mean, here's the issue is you're signing Kawhi Leonard, and no matter what, you're losing him for stretches of the postseason that are important. You know what I'm saying?
And also you were like, if he only has 4 years left because of this knee thing, we got to maximize it now. Like, who is the best player that was traded in the next year? Because we didn't even get the Harden trade for a full year after this.
And just, like, the other thing is, like, I honestly think it, like, made a lot of sense. You had, like, we've seen teams do really well, the Celtics most notably, on the strength of having 2 really good forwards. I think that's part of the reason we're kind of high on the Magic going forward too. Like, it's having 2 good wings is, like, very important. I think the Clippers did, like, a very good job. I think sometimes you do just kind of get unlucky. I mean, it's a lot to give up for Paul George. When that trade happened, I thought that's a lot. I also didn't think, wow, that's, like, terrible. You know what I'm saying? No. Like, so a lot of these other trades, I was like, holy shit.
All right, let's get into yours then. You got to make one because there were 2 I debated here. There were 3 I debated here, but I'll let you take the second and then I'll take the third. I
think I'm probably going off your board on this one because I think that there is a psychic weight to this one.
Okay.
You're going to get mad at me. I think the Markelle Fultz Tatum swap.
I really am surprised that you're saying this because I didn't know what to do with this one. And I know it's once again, Sixers fans cope here for sure.
Yeah.
We were never going to take Tatum.
I guess maybe that's what you say.
And then, I also look at it like we just didn't have, like, that was bad scouting from us. But from a trade perspective, to me, it's just bad scouting. Like, it's not, because I just don't see a world in which we were ever going to take Tatum. And if we didn't take Tatum, I don't even know I guess we would have just waited there and then taken Lonzo Ball at 3. Because the reason why the Sixers jumped up was because the Lakers also would have taken Fultz.
Yeah.
So, like, I guess we take Lonzo Ball at 3 if we sit at 3. And then, like, I mean, it's, I don't know. But once again, I'm coming from the perspective of Sixers fan. I just didn't think it was ever, I feel like it's a little bit of revisionist history, but also I guess you could say, no, that's not true because we all were blown away by the OKC trade at the time.
Yeah. I just think, I think looking back on it, if you just want to talk about, if we're talking about this is part of the reason I asked that question up top, because if we're talking about damage to a franchise and profit to another franchise, I do think, like, because you could look at it just like you said, if you look at it from the perspective of, if the Celtics keep the pick, do they just draft Tatum number 1 overall anyway, and then you guys just get Lonzo? Then maybe this, like, doesn't matter as much. But just in terms of, like, this is where, like, the rebuild roads diverge. This is where things kind of got bogged down and shitty and sticky. Like, you guys have tanked a couple of, like, bad things, like a Zaire Smith thing had happened at this point. I think, like,
no, that was the next year.
Oh, it was the next year. Okay. Then I guess this is the point where things started to kind of.
Well, it was multiple different front offices is the main issue, is that there was no consistency. It was a schizophrenic few years because there was 7 different decision makers involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you when did and you didn't? This was and you hadn't traded for Jimmy yet or Tobias Harris, if I remember.
No.
Correctly, correct?
At the time of the 2017 draft, we literally just had Ben and Joel.
Yeah,
that's it. Like we had some other guys on the roster. We had Robert Covington, whoever, but like the guys who mattered on the team were Ben and Joel.
Yeah,
and the Fultz pick missing. Well, it's one of those things where like there are a lot of trades on here where like in a vacuum you go, man, that's such a terrible trade, and then the team kind of figures out a way out of it.
Yeah,
and this is why it drives me so insane. The Sixers did figure out a way out of it, and then they fucked themselves again.
Yeah,
like the Fultz thing not working out made it so they had to trade for Jimmy Butler, and if they had just had Jimmy Butler, it wouldn't have mattered as much. But because they also did that, then it makes it worse.
Yeah, you have the Tobias Harris thing, you have all the other stuff, but I'm just like looking at like what if the Celtics had my way of looking at it is what if the Celtics had Markelle Fultz and what if the Sixers had like Jason Tatum?
Sure.
And it's not
in a vacuum, yes.
In a vacuum, like that is like a tremendously different. Like I'm pretty sure if that happens, the Sixers win the 2019 title. I'm like
100%
pretty sure. If they have
there are many. This is my argument. This is my argument why it drives me a little insane when people are so anti-process.
Yeah,
is because I'm like, do you know how many times we fucked up and we were still contenders? The only reason that happened was because we had literally the most amount of margin for error, and we still fucked it up somehow. Like the Tatum thing might have been the first in a long line of errors that they made, but the crux of this is that they fucked up the scouting in this draft. Because the pick became Romeo Langford, which also was actually that was also a little bit of bad luck from the Celtics, weirdly enough, because the next year the Kings jumped up to 2 from 7, I think, in the lottery. And I don't remember what the protections were on that pick, but they should have gotten that first round pick, right? In 2018.
It was the only year they didn't pick in the top 10 for like basically until the Beam year. Like for like a decade. That was like we had the pick in the only year the Kings were like finished like 13th or 14th or whatever that was. So
no, definitely in terms of one team winning and one team losing, that's undeniable. The Sixers got the much worse player.
Yeah.
They eventually had to trade him, and they got lucky in what they got back for Fultz. Mm-hmm. And they got lucky that OKC ended up being the 21st pick in the draft when they owned OKC's pick, and it was top 20 protected, and that became Maxey. But like, it's one of those things where it definitely is like if you raise 2 children in the exact same environment, the winner and loser. It is literally I named one son winner and one son loser. The Celtics were winner and the Sixers were loser.
Yeah.
And this is definitely the divergent path, as you said.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's definitely kind of a caveat, and it's like a little bit of a weird pick. But I think just in terms of like, boy, I wonder what happens if you swap those, and like it's very literal that these two teams had like the 2 picks, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And they are in the same division. They played each other a bunch starting this season. This is that's the confetti series is later on that next like off season. So like this is I think, and it's the Celtics, it's their championship winning franchise player, and I think if the Sixers had ended up with Tatum, I'm pretty sure they win at least one title in this run.
A lot of people give Drew Hanlon a lot of shit. He told the Sixers to draft Drew Hanlon because he worked out with Joel and Tatum and was like, you should draft him, and they didn't listen to him. So look, sometimes Drew Hanlon gets things right. So I'm actually shocked that you didn't take one of the 2 trades that I'm about to take right now.
Okay.
Which is, look, there's one trade that had things gone differently in the last few months would be number 1 with a bullet here. But unfortunately, things have worked out in their favor so far. Okay. They got an incredible amount of luck that will make that trade not look so bad. Yeah. But I'm going to take the other one, which is the Haliburton Sabonis trade.
Okay. Yep. That was going to be my next pick if you didn't take it.
So the reason I'm taking the Haliburton Sabonis trade is fairly obvious. Obviously, Haliburton has gotten them to an Eastern Conference Finals and a Finals before he tore his Achilles. Was looking clearly like one of the 10 or 12 best players in the NBA. I've called him time and time again one of the most unique superstars. But the thing that really gets me about this trade is the fact that what would the Pacers have done without this? Like, they kind of were just hanging around, looking for a life raft. They were fine competing and being mid. They were just, taking it day by day, year by year. And the Kings drop in with a miracle life raft for them, which is essentially trading them a 21-year-old at the time, Tyrese Haliburton, who was in his second year of the NBA. Other than the SGA trade, the only trade I can remember where a clear future Hall of Famer gets traded on his rookie contract.
Yeah.
That very rarely ever happens. Yeah. And I think there's even a little bit of I think it's even worse because Haliburton had started to break out with the Kings. Like, it wasn't one of those things where like SGA had a really good rookie year, but and obviously I think because he doesn't have the shooting concerns that someone like Steph Castle has.
Yeah.
But to me, Steph Castle post rookie year and SGA post rookie year have similar stock as trade assets, quote unquote, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Haliburton was in year 2, and when De'Aaron Fox got hurt, I've talked about this before. He had a game against the Sixers where I was like, this guy looks like the best player in the NBA. I was like, I literally have a tweet from that night that's like, they're never going to trade this guy. No one would ever be this stupid. And within 6 weeks of that tweet, he was being traded to the Indiana Pacers. And the thing that I keep coming back to with this trade is the fact that, one, it cost Monty McNair's job, obviously, because he was, I know that ownership was very much a big proponent of like, let's get good now. We have like a pretty decent team. Let's try to, push in the chips now and make the playoffs next year. But the thing that I keep coming back to with this trade is the fact that there have only been 2 players that we know of that are like really good players that wanted to play for the Kings. One of them is De'Aaron Fox. One of them is Tyrese Haliburton. We're sitting here in 2025, and neither of them are on the Kings. They traded for Sabonis, who is the ultimate, probably the definition of a floor raiser / ceiling capper. You will almost certainly never win multiple playoff series with him as your best player. You'd be lucky to win one playoff series. He's never won a playoff series in his career. You were trading him to the Western Conference, which is the much better conference. And you were getting back a player, like I said, on his rookie contract that was very clearly going to be at least an all-star level player. Yeah. I think fringe all-star was what I said at the time. I underestimated how good he could possibly become once again.
I think everybody did. I don't think that was a
I know you can check the tape because I literally had to discuss this because I thought he was going to get traded to the Sixers. And my whole thing was, I was like, he might be like a Malcolm Brogdon variant, but like when Malcolm Brogdon was like kind of fake all-star, almost all-star-ish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those few seasons where he averaged like 20 points and like 6 assists on like 50, 40, 90 or whatever. But Malcolm Brogdon was never really that good. But he was, a top 50 or 60 player in the NBA. That was my idea from what Haliburton could become. And he has greatly exceeded those expectations.
Yeah.
And it was a crazy trade at the time. You can go check. Everyone felt this way. This is not hindsight bias like some of the other trades we'll talk about here. But this is ultimately it. If you want to make the argument for the Sixers Celtics like you just did, like at least the Sixers have had like a little bit of success. The Kings haven't won a playoff series. They had one good year. Fox is off the team now. So they're essentially stuck with Sabonis in a loaded Western Conference with a team that makes no sense with him. And then you have on the other side a team that before the Achilles tear, you were looking like, man, this team could like legitimately get back to the NBA Finals again, maybe next year after making the conference finals and the finals. So like there isn't like we talked about like the score of, if we did like on a scale of 100, the score for OKC versus the Clippers is like 95 to 50.
Yeah, right.
This is like This is like 70-10. This is, it's like that might be even larger.
85 to
I was gonna say, and the other team. I'm not even like saying like if it adds up to 100. I'm talking about like an actual basketball game. Like if you were to just like map it out, it is a mind blowing trade that was crazy at the time and looks worse with each passing year.
Yeah, and just like, and look, I will say like part of this is like the Kings just being the worst at team building, them just trying to like create the Chicago Bulls around Sabonis is like another like reason why this like didn't work. Like, I think that obviously like makes it look worse. And I will say like we'll see once Haliburton is back. We are judging Haliburton coming off of like the literal peak, what is probably going to be the peak of his career. If not, he is a special player. Like we just saw literally the best Haliburton had to offer I'm just saying like this is something where
one of the greatest recent runs we've had from like clutch shot making and playmaking and
I was always like a little lower on Haliburton. I saw him more as like a third team all-star, and I was so impressed by this run. It completely changed how I saw him as a player. I do think that is that it is a little harder to kind of judge that right now. I do think though that like no matter how you see it, this is one of the 5 worst trades of recent history because it's a franchise player. It's one of the other instances of a franchise player changing teams for not a franchise player coming back. And anytime that happens, it's going to be one of the worst things. And that's like the definition of these first few trades we're going to be talking about. So,
and the thing is with this trade is that what's the best case scenario for the Kings in this situation? Like we're seeing pretty much the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
But the best case scenario was Sabonis and Fox leading them to that victory over the Warriors in a down year in the Western Conference when they built like a pretty good team around them. And they're the surprise 3 seed. They're a fun team. They probably make it to the next round and they probably get smacked by the Lakers in the next round. And then they're back in the position that they're in right now, which is that they are always going to be a team that's fighting for the play-in, and maybe if they had made a little bit better ancillary moves around those guys, they could have won multiple playoff series over the course of a few years. But really the ceiling for this was what we ended up seeing. Maybe a slight variation if Harrison Barnes makes that shot in game 4 and they beat the Warriors. But like, the upside of that trade was like, it was very unlikely you were ever going to be a perennial playoff team in the West. And the downside was you traded away the best. Like, honestly, if Haliburton hadn't had this Achilles tear, he would be the best player they ever drafted.
Yeah.
Like, he probably still is the best player they ever drafted, actually, because they didn't draft Chris Webber.
No, they didn't. So is it
Fox or Haliburton, or
was it Jason? No, because they didn't draft Jason. They didn't draft White Chocolate, right? Like,
no, I think they did draft White Chocolate. I think they traded him for Mike Bibby.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, to the Grizzlies, to the Vancouver Grizzlies at the time.
It's silly. Yeah, I was gonna say that's probably the best because after that it'd be like what, Boogie Cousins? Like
it would be. It's like Boogie Cousins. Yeah, the list is probably like Mitch Richmond. Boogie Cousins. I mean, if you want to take it back to like, I think they drafted Oscar Robinson technically. If you go all the way back to
the Royals,
but like they weren't in Sacramento. In Sacramento, I think the list is Mitch Richmond, Tyrese Haliburton, De'Aaron Fox, and Boogie Cousins, and like they traded away the best player they ever drafted in his second year.
Yeah, that's really tough. That's just.
And then they lost to Con Knippel in the finals of the Summer League. Demon Khan winning Summer League Finals MVP.
He's back. He should have done the Kobe with the jacket on in the showers picture.
Well, luckily they did draft the second best player in the draft behind VJ Edgecombe and Nick Clifford. So
I like Nick.
Nick was hooping at Summer League.
I'm Mr. Clifford. I am seated. I liked that pick for them. I think we both did, right? Like I think we both thought that was a pretty good pick.
That's a good flyer. I think he could be a good player. I'm also not ever going to get excited about a 22, 23-year-old being good as a Summer League or rookie guy. But It is very funny that are you aware that if they had won they would have been building a summer league dynasty? I think this would have been their third championship in 5 years in summer league.
Really? Oh wow!
I think they won in 2021 and 2023. This was the Hornets. A Hornets fan on TikTok was like, I think this is literally since they moved back to Charlotte, one of the 5 best moments in their history. And the Kings, while they build for summer league, they couldn't take down Demon Khan and KJ Simpson and Kalkbrenner. That's a special team the Charlotte Hornets are building down there. I'm glad that people are finally starting to come around to what I said like a week ago, where I was like, I kind of think that they have, like, for the first time since they've moved back to Charlotte, like a real future. Like they have NBA players.
I'll Lucy in the football. Let me I want to see it I want to see it on an NBA floor. You could be right.
I get it.
You could be right, but
I get it.
Would like to see it on an NBA floor first.
For sure. But like they have what I'm trying to say is that, like, if you look at where the Tidjod Saloon pick is obviously a disaster. I'm not going to argue against that. If they literally just drafted Donovan Clingan or Zach Edey or someone normal there, I would feel even better about them. But in 2 of the last 3 drafts, they walked away with Brandon Miller and Con Knipple, and like I think it's very clear that they're long-term NBA players.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, and those guys, we just talked about how important it is to have good wings. Pretty good to have 2 good wings. Like
it's a good start. And I don't know. I got a lot. I just want a little sidebar here on Con. I think that the people are underestimating when you win Summer League MVP. Everyone says it doesn't mean anything. I completely disagree. I think it means you're very clearly an NBA player. And I think that the only example, if you're 19, I should be clear here. If you're 24, I don't really give a shit. Okay, cool. You should be.
Oscar Tshiebwe's Summer League MVP doesn't move you?
I don't think he won. So I think he won.
He didn't. No, he won Player of the Year.
But if you look at the list of everyone who was 19 and won it, like they all got second contracts except for Josh Selby. Literally, he's the only one who didn't. Everyone, it's like Lonzo Ball, Davion Mitchell. Oh no, I'm sorry. Davion Mitchell was too old. It was Lonzo Ball. Cam Thomas is look, I know Cam Thomas is like a punchline, but like he's very clearly an NBA player. And
even he's got smoke with Zach Lowe.
Which I don't even know why he was mad at Zach. What Zach said was the consensus around this player is. He did not say, I think Cam Thomas sucks. He was basically like the consensus is that he's an empty calorie scorer and that he just gets buckets, which is pretty true. Like, I mean, Cam's the best that you can be at that, but he's also not good at the other parts of basketball, which is what ultimately makes players into like stars.
I would say that I'm not surprised Cam Thomas was mad about that. Sure. I'm a little surprised that Zach Lowe was surprised that Cam Thomas was mad about that. Like you've been around the league a little bit.
No, he wasn't that shocked. He said he was like, I stand by what I said. He can get mad. That's fine. I just my whole thing with that was like, I do think that some of the Cam Thomas stuff has probably gotten a little bit out of control because like ultimately he's an
NBA player.
This is an
NBA player.
This is what I'm saying. Like, it's not like Cam Thomas was the 5th pick in the draft. Like, Cam Thomas was a late 1st round pick and like has had a decent career considering everything. It's just that his perception of probably who he is as a player is just disconnected from what the rest of the league thinks. And that's what Zach was trying to say, was that like the league is not valuing Cam Thomas's archetype. It doesn't mean that he's not an NBA player. But also he said in the same quote, he has fans around the league. Like there are people that like him. Yeah. But I don't know. It was just weird that like he was like, fuck Zach Lowe and fuck the consensus. Like I will say it's probably pretty frustrating for him that like if he had hit free agency 2 years ago, I mean, he would have gotten like the Jordan Poole bag.
For sure.
And now he's probably going to get like, he might take the qualifying offer or get like an MLE.
He should take the qualifying offer.
When there's cap space next summer, It is funny because I had a tweet the other day where I said, is is Cam Thomas good? The longest argument in forum history locked after like 700 pages or whatever. I took the drill tweet and just said, "Is Cam Thomas good?" But it is very funny to me that like he seemingly gets better at what he's better at every single year in the NBA, and like you can pluck stats with him where you're like, he's the best ISO scorer, he's the most double teamed, he's this, that, like whatever, and at the end of the day, it just feels like the league just does not give a fuck at all. And he is, like I said, like he's just hitting free agency at the wrong time. I probably would take the qualifying offer and just try to go to free agency when there's a ton of cap space next year. And like, look, if you continue, like if he gets better as a pull-up 3-point shooter, like there will be a team out there that gives him a bag.
I would be, if I were a team this deadline, if he does take the qualifying offer, I would just call up the Nets and be like, hey, you want a second round pick for him?
Well, unless you have cap space, that doesn't really work because the thing that sucks about the qualifying offer for the team when the player accepts it is that their bird rights don't transfer in a trade.
Oh, is that true?
I didn't know that. That's so if he stays with the Nets, he'll keep his bird rights. But if he gets traded to another team, they would have to have cap space or an exception to sign him.
God, I wonder if it was always like that or if that's new this CBA.
No, I'm pretty sure it was the old CBA.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was like something that's probably been around.
Because think about how many guys have ever been traded after picking up the qualifying offer.
Yeah. No, it's well, because nobody does it for this reason, because they've made restricted free agency so onerous. That, like, if I were the NBA PA, that's what I'm fucking. If I'm the union, that's what I'm going. I'm killing restricted free agency. That's what I'm targeting. If I'm a PA, if I'm advising the players association.
All right. Now that Cooper Flag gets drafted to the Mavericks and Sam wants to kill restricted free agency.
That's right. Correct. Time to kill it. We've got 2 years. We've got 2 years, baby.
2 years. 2 years, and then you can hit free agency.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna make you make a pick now. So.
Okay. I'm gonna surprise you here.
Going off the script again. Okay, I do just want to say before everyone yells at us, last year I made a very, I would say what was not a great selection in our worst draft picks draft, which was I said Tyler Hero. They would have been better off drafting a bust, which honestly, I still feel like my argument was sound.
And it's like,
my argument was
let's check in next year. You know what I'm saying? This is something that kind of year to year is going to look a little different, you know, like, so
my argument
you were crazy for that. Yeah.
My argument was if they had missed on that, it would have made them have to push in the chips more because they got Jimmy Butler right after that. And they would have had to make more aggressive trades to build a contender around him and Bam. And Hero being too good to trade on his rookie contract, but then also getting paid and being unmovable for better players like Donovan Mitchell made it so that they were unable to build a finals level team. And Hero wasn't a big part of some of those conference finals and finals teams because he didn't play in the playoffs because he got injured. And my argument was essentially, long story short, that they could have been forced into making other moves. But I'm not going to sit here and be like, Dragan Bender was, we all know Dragan Bender was a bad draft pick. This is a podcast. I'm not just going to list down a fucking article that is the worst draft picks or the worst trades. Like I want to try to get a little bit creative. So I want to hear what you have to say here.
Just in terms of like the most damaging to a franchise, and this one, you kind of have to look at what happened after the trade. But I would argue that what happened after the trade was what was expected when you made the trade. I do think this is the correct time to select the OG Anunoby trade with the Raptors.
We've never talked about this one before, so.
I'm just saying it is. I still don't think people have quite wrapped their heads around how damaging this trade has been.
I had it written down.
Like, it is like. Everyone yelled at me for like 2 years ago for like hyper fixating on the Suns and being like, you don't understand. They're like ruined. Like, and this is like a very similar, I feel very similarly about the Raptors where everyone's like, yeah, they'll be fine. Blah, blah. No, they're fucked. They're fucked forever. Like they need like 2 Pascal Siakam picks again, like in the late to like dig their way out of this. They need to absolutely crush the draft to even be a normal playoff team. Like little known this, for those of you who don't know, what I'm talking about, OG Anunoby was swapped for a freshly extended RJ Barrett and a
Which, by the
Emmanuel
way, at the
Quickley.
time of that trade, when they signed RJ Barrett to that extension, I don't know if you remember the previous summer to that, but they were in talks to trade for Donovan Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
And then they couldn't sign RJ Barrett because they were going to trade. They ended up being like, no, we're not going to trade Quentin Grimes. That was which is funny because they didn't even get anything for Quentin Grimes. And they still ended up fine because they made moves like this.
Yeah.
But the summer before, when they signed that RJ Barrett extension, I was like, what the fuck are they doing? It was the Jalen Green things.
Yeah.
Where I was like, why are you extending RJ Barrett? RJ Barrett sucks and you're paying him way too much money. And now you're not going to be able to trade him. Little did I know that they would be able to trade him. And not only did they trade him, I mean, I guess that was that the summer of 2023? No, I guess that was 2022. And then they traded him a year and a half later.
Yeah. No.
Which is why trading for the RJ Barrett contract in retrospect is even worse because we had already seen him for a year and a half on the deal, right?
No, I think it was 2023 because Donovan Mitchell got traded in 2023, right?
So now it's 2022. It was 22. It was the summer of 2022. No, okay. I'm telling you it was. But what I'm trying to say is that so RJ got extended and RJ was 6 months into his new contract when they traded him, but they had extended him a year and a half before this.
Okay. Yeah.
And when they extended him, I was like, this is insane. They're not going to be able to trade this contract. And not only did they trade the contract, but they traded it for basically what you wanted RJ Barrett to be. And they were seemingly never going to pay. And the reason why I got this trade wrong at the time was because I was like, well, Emmanuel Quickley's really good. Like, I'm surprised that they weren't able to figure out something. They basically used Emmanuel Quickley and not wanting to pay him in order to get off the RJ Barrett contract. And they got back one of the top 10 wings in the NBA, which you called at the time. And you were like, this is a great trade for the Knicks.
Yeah. And so here's the downside in this, if you want to make the argument, you were trading an Emmanuel Quickley problem for an OG Anunoby problem because they did have to immediately pay OG Anunoby almost $50 million a year.
Okay. Hold on. I wrote this down because I knew that you would bring this up.
Yeah.
They're paying so much more for Emmanuel Quickley and RJ Barrett than they would have paid.
Yes.
Now, even on his current contract, OG Anunoby is tradable. Like they cannot trade the RJ Barrett contract right now. And RJ Barrett makes considerably less than OG Anunoby. And they can't trade Emmanuel Quickley because he doesn't play games.
Yes.
And he makes $32 million a year. And he's also, as we said before, a archetype that the league is starting to move away from as a small guard. And like, I just look at it like
it's not it's never been a starter in the NBA. Never been a starter in the NBA.
I mean, you can make an argument that both these players are bench players, and they traded him for a very clear fourth best player on a potential championship team.
Just a guy that has like incredible value, and it just drives me like so insane that like anyone even tries to like defend this. This was so bad, like because like getting Quickley. Because the other thing is like Quickley was expiring. You only do this trade if you're going to pay Emmanuel Quickley, and the fact that they paid him. Grossly overpaid him. They paid a six-man $35 million at the precise time that like you couldn't do this anymore. That's the other thing about this timing is you do this right when the salary cap, all of these restrictions are getting thrown in with double aprons and something like that. And as a result, you now have this Raptors team that is going to be a second apron team, if not now in the near future, that is like not a playoff like team. Like maybe a play-in team, but it's not going to be a playoff team. And it's insane. It's like there's a lot of other trades that we can make. And when we get to some of these other, because I think a lot of people heard me make this pick and they rolled their eyes and they're like, what do you do? Like, no, there are a lot of the other bad trades you're thinking about still have things that need to be resolved. This trade is completely resolved and is fucking terrible. Like bad, like now. Yeah.
So you were like, well, they had to turn around and pay OG. So that was part of the issue was that like, maybe
I don't believe that. That's by the way, that's the devil's advocate.
That was the devil's advocate argument. But what I'm trying to get at here more so is the fact that they had to pay OG probably more than, but if he had gone in free agency, unless the Sixers overpaid him or whatever, he wouldn't have gotten. I get that. They kind of backed themselves into a corner there. The Raptors are paying $60 million combined dollars a year for these two players one who is never available and has largely been a bench player throughout his career. RJ Barrett, who's a starter in reality, but not probably like he shouldn't be. Like in an ideal role,
Mickey
he's
Mouse
a 6
March
man.
all-star.
You got 2 6 men for $60 million a year. And as we had said forever leading up to this trade, we were like, trade these guys now, get ahead of it. And your own stubbornness is why you had to take a package like this back, and it ended up backfiring. And yeah, no, you're mid to bad, and your roster doesn't make sense. No, I think it's a realistic one. I had it further down my list, but I understand the argument.
Yeah.
So all right, let's just fucking rip the Band-Aid off. I don't care that they got Cooper Flag. The Luka trade sucks, dude. Like here's the thing. Even though they got Cooper Flag, that has basically nothing to do with this trade.
I'm not counting that, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. So this would have been number one with a bullet if they didn't get Cooper Flag, is the other argument here. Like we talk about okay, hold on.
Go ahead. You finish. You cook. Okay.
Anthony Davis is obviously still a very good NBA player. No one would argue against it. And I know everyone's like lower on Luka right now. Luka's still Luka. I don't give a fuck. To do this to your fan base, to do this and not scour the league for what you could have gotten for Luka Doncic, to do this in the fashion that you did it is one of the most laughable things. We've talked about it so fucking much. You can review all the episodes where we talked about this. And up until the second they got Cooper Flag, it was basically all we ever talked about when it came to the Mavericks. Having said that, the Luka trade, like, even if you want to make the argument, even if you're going to do the devil's advocate thing and be like, well, they somehow, they fell out of the playoffs because Anthony Davis wasn't available. And then you should have just traded Luka for literally the draft haul of a fucking century instead of trading for Anthony Davis, who we all agree is still a very good player, but is very rarely ever available, especially when the games particularly matter. And 2, like, now you have this roster that's all wings and bigs and a bunch of guys that are like older with Cooper Flag. Would you rather have Cooper Flag and the draft haul and prospect haul of a century? Or would you rather have Anthony Davis, who with Kyrie Irving now out because he had to push himself to the limit? Now, look, the ACL thing might have been a separate injury, but long story short on this, it's everything that has happened. Like, no matter what happens with this trade to me, you just got bailed out because of the Flag thing. Like, this, once again, would be number one with a bullet for me if they did not get Flag, and they got lucky as shit that they did get him. But I still like Luka's one of the 5 or 6 best players in the NBA. Like, trading him in his prime when he very clearly could be the best player in the championship team, got you to the finals the year before. You gave a whole middle finger to your entire fan base, and you ended up in the position that you're in now only due to luck. Like, I mean, it's a joke Nico Harrison still has his job.
Okay, all true. Literally everything you just said is true. Obviously, I think this would have been my number one pick with a bullet, except for 2 little details. One, Luka Doncic still has not re-signed or extended with the Los Angeles Lakers.
All the indications is that he is. Like, pretty much all the Lakers and like the like plugged in people are saying that they're
What's the wait? Why are we waiting on that? Why is that not done yet? Why was that not done when the trade was?
So first off, good sign number 1. He recruited both Ayton and Marcus Smart to come play for them this year.
It's a lot of assets out the door for those two. Those 2 guys, everyone was busted.
I mean, they had nothing.
Everyone wanted those services.
Okay, but if Luka, once again, if Luka didn't give a fuck, then he wouldn't do those things, is my point. Like, the reason that those guys signed there is because he wanted to play with them.
Sure, we've heard stuff like this before, where guys.
So this is just. I really do not think Luka Doncic is leaving in free agency a year from now. Now, I also didn't think Luka Doncic was ever going to be traded, but I also just want to point out here that everything that we're hearing from like pretty much everyone involved is like, he's in Slovenia right now. They're going over to meet with him. They're talking about plans, and he'll probably extend either later this offseason or later in the calendar year. I'm just saying that seems to be what the plan is.
Okay. It's weird that there's like fucked up LeBron stuff going on. Another thing that is very different from Luka Doncic's Lakers situation from literally every other. There's no supermax available to Luka Doncic anymore. You can't, when you get traded, you lose the ability to do that. So him walking, it still costs him money. It does not cost him as much money as pretty much any other player of his stature has like ever been. You know what I'm saying? So I just like, probably he resigns if like things look good and everything happens in like training camp and like, yeah, this, you know, like maybe it turns out fine. I'm just saying it hasn't happened yet. And this has the potential, if he does not resign, to be like one of the worst disasters for the Lakers in like history and like one of the biggest all-time flubs. Like, you know, it's not likely, as you say, but it still has not happened yet. And there still is potential for that. And weirder things have happened. LeBron is involved.
What team could even steal him away? Like, where is he going?
I don't know. But there's going to be a lot of cap space out there. And this isn't last summer.
The like Wizards? He's going to go to the Washington Wizards?
Maybe.
Okay.
What do the Lakers have to offer him right now under their current team construction that the Wizards do not have to? Is Rui Hachimura and Austin Reeves that much more compelling than?
I mean, I just think anyone ever if the Washington Wizards sign one of the 5 best players in the NBA, I will hand it to you.
I'm just saying, like, not even the Wizards. I'm just saying, like, anyone. The Lakers are not a good situation anymore.
I don't think the Clippers can get the cap space to sign him next summer. I could be wrong on that.
I don't.
But if they could, that would be the one. If the Clippers had a way to get to that cap space next summer, I would be freaking out if I were the Lakers, because that's the only scenario I could see where it's like, oh man.
He's also like Luka's also like, I don't necessarily think like Luka likes to have fun, but he likes to have fun in like an Eastern European way where he just like needs like somewhere where he can like smoke hookah and like fucking pound beers, you know, like without being bothered. Like, I don't think he
also seemingly wanted to never get traded from Dallas, which tells me, but let me continue.
Sure.
He didn't want to get traded from Dallas. And I think that the fact that the Lakers are sucking his dick might be working in their favor, is my argument. Is like, basically what the Mavericks did for years for him was this, until Nico showed up and went cocaine mode and decided
cocaine knows.
Nico got inspired by
hung out with Quinn Snyder.
all this great music we've been getting recently.
Love the Clips album.
Yeah. He saw a Hunter Biden clip and he said, you know, damn, he just like me for real. These are all jokes, by the way. Please don't. Anyway, no, he, once again, look, it may be sure, but like, if we get there, this ages badly. But like, dude, they traded fucking Luka Doncic. We were in shock for fucking months afterwards.
I'm not downplaying the Dallas side of it at all. Everything you said is correct. Like, some of the dumbest process we've ever seen in like NBA. No excuse for it. Terrible. They're very lucky to get away with Cooper Flag. All of that stuff. Like this. Like if the Lakers re-sign Luka and they figure out like some other stuff, like it'll look really good. Right now, there is still a sliver of a chance that is a dramatic nightmare franchise ruining scenario for the Lakers for like 5 years. That is my only point. Like, there's a narrow window for disaster here. Like, probably not, but it's not as much money as it usually is to walk away from. You guys rarely have the opportunity to pick their situation these days. Like with how like the Supermax thing works, where now the new way you do it is you get your Supermax and then you ask for your trade wherever you want to. This time he's the first guy who could actually like shake up free agency, like in a really serious way and like not be a trade thing. And I'm just saying, like, the Lakers, what are you going back to? You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't have to be. If you care about basketball, are the Lakers giving you the best chance to win in a like NBA context? Is Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura? That's your core, your championship core. You're really committed to. Like, I don't know.
Are you done wish casting?
I'm not wish casting. Like, they'll probably be fine. You know what I'm saying? They'll probably be fine. I'm just saying that's out there, and until that's not, I'm not ranking this trade higher than that. Is what I'm going to say. So,
all right, what's your pick?
I've got a couple on my short list. This is where it's
my Hall of Fame ones are off the board now. So
yeah,
now I'm going to start to get creative because I have a few that are not like. There's another obvious one that you could take. I mean, it's more so because of the ramifications of what happened after that trade, but there are a few on here that you could definitely point to. But I want to start to get a little bit more creative after this one.
Yeah. Yeah, let's speaking of which, let's rip this Band-Aid. We got to get to this one at some point. Westbrook trade. Let's just do it.
Okay, I had it much further down my list because I think this is the opportunity cost trade. Is I think the argument to make in favor of this being one of the worst, because the haul that they ended up giving up is not really that bad on its face, but the opportunity cost of the last few years of LeBron James being LeBron James basically thrown out the window because of this trade is why it really stings.
I mean, you destroyed a championship team.
Sure. I mean, once again, I don't disagree, but like they traded Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Kyle Kuzma basically for him.
Yeah. I mean,
the trade, when you talk about the value of the other trades, the value of the other trades is massive in comparison to this one. But the opportunity cost of why the fuck did we just, and also I believe the same offseason they let Caruso walk to the Bulls in favor of Taylor Horton-Tucker.
Yeah, that also happened, yes.
This is the opportunity cost where it's like getting Westbrook made it so that they couldn't do anything else. And he was a massive contract. And if the Wizards did not make this trade, they probably would have had to attach stuff to get rid of Russell Westbrook.
Yes.
And they got at least neutral, solid value back.
I feel like this was, maybe I'm misremembering, but I feel like the jig was kind of up on Russell Westbrook. Like I feel like everyone mostly knew.
I recorded the day after this trade and we fucking destroyed it.
Yeah.
We were like, this is one of the worst trades I've ever seen.
Yeah. Maybe I'm misremembering. Maybe there was, because Russ did have, like, they made the playoffs. I think they were in the play.
They played the Sixers. They played the Sixers, the 1-8. They lost to you guys in the 7-8 playing game. Then they won the second one. I believe they were playing against the Charlotte Hornets in the second one, or the Indiana Pacers, one of those two teams.
Yeah.
And they played the Sixers. And that was a series that the Sixers were on their way to a sweep, and then Joel got hurt in game 4. They ended up winning in 5, their next game back at home. And Russell Westbrook, every time he shot in that series, I stood up and I clapped. Yeah. It was the series that I realized the best thing that can happen to your team when you're playing against a Russell Westbrook team is him hitting a 3 in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Because it is then Russell Westbrook time. And he will never stop shooting, and he will derail their entire offense in order to do it. And I wouldn't even, like, people were higher on Russ after that season because he had a little bit of he kept doing this thing for years where he would start slow and then he would play amazing for like 2 months. And then the playoffs would come around and he was just like not really that guy anymore. And it was very obvious that the Lakers, this should have been the last thing. But do you remember why the Lakers were doing this? Because the Lakers were, for 2 or 3 straight years, they were just searching for a secondary ball handler to put with LeBron, so LeBron didn't have to be, the sun and the moon for them on their offense, basically. And this was also, by the way, the same offseason they got Austin Reeves undrafted as a free agent. Had they known that was going to happen, they wouldn't have had to do this. This is also a year after they had already traded Danny Green and their first round pick for Dennis Schroeder. And by the way, do you know who that pick became?
No.
Jaden McDaniels. That pick became Jaden McDaniels because OKC ended up trading it to Minnesota to trade up. So that pick became Jaden McDaniels. So that's a tough one for the Lakers. But
That
also
hurts.
the other part is the first time I ever had Harrison on the podcast, he told me that Desmond Bane said it on podcast before the draft on the Lakers Nation podcast. He said, I basically begged them to draft me, and that like I felt weird working out for other teams because I'm such a big Lakers fan. And I know it's going to be, I would be a perfect fit with Anthony Davis and LeBron James. And they said, nope, we're going to trade Danny Green with the pick and we're going to get Dennis Schroeder back instead. So they could have had Desmond Bane, Jaden McDaniels, or they would have avoided this mess entirely. Like this would have been avoided if they literally did either of those things, I feel like. So this was just their search for a secondary ball handler that went so wrong that they ended up with Russell Westbrook on a supermax contract.
And I mean, like, you know, part of this is like, is this also the other way you could say this? Is this the cost of having LeBron James on your team? That sometimes LeBron pulls the GM card and you end up with a.
And to be fair, this was the last time he did it. They were basically like, "You're done.
Yeah,
like, you're not doing this anymore because we just can't keep doing this."
Yeah.
And the first time he did it, it worked out great. The Anthony Davis move.
Yeah. But it was a really bad trade. I mean, like Kuzma's career, and maybe we'll talk about Kuzma later on.
He had one good season with the Wizards, at least.
Yeah, he like when he was traded, Kuzma was still seen as like a very good up and coming young player. Like that was like he was
26. But yes, you're right.
You are correct. What I mean, though, like
you're I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying he was like 26 or 27, and every time I told people that, they were like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah,
because he got drafted when he was like 23.
That is true. Well, we've all seen the famous. I love the Tatum Kuzma comparison. Is so good.
Anyway, Nick Clifford is a Hall of Famer.
Yes, correct.
Also, speaking of, how's Dalton Connect doing? No, Nick Clifford's better than him. I'm just saying, when you have these older players who play really well as rookies, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. Anyway.
We did just talk about Desmond Bane.
Desmond Bane was younger than you think. He was 21 on draft night. He was 21. He was very weirdly a 4-year player who was still 21 on draft night.
Interesting. Okay.
He was like 17 when he got to TCU, but he ended up being 22 as a rookie.
They've always said that the best Division I athletes are 17 when they step into the.
We all know this. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the line of demarcation for drafting someone and hoping that you could maybe get someone who has more upside is 22. Like, if you're drafting a 23-year-old, they are almost certainly locked into being a role player. I can't think of any examples of a 23-year-old becoming an all-star. Because even if you look at Brunson and Middleton and Siakam and Jimmy
how old was Tim Duncan?
I think he was 22.
Was he 22?
Yeah, like he was. I don't even think I think he did. Hold on.
I think he's the best 4-year player ever, in my opinion.
Like, well, also it's just different now than it used to be.
Yeah.
He was 21 on draft night.
Okay. Yeah. If the 22 demarcation line holds.
I'm not saying you can't draft a 23-year-old because there are sometimes you can get good players that are 23, but I think that you have to adjust your expectations for what they're going to be in the long term. Because I legitimately cannot remember someone who was like 22, 23 as opposed to like 21, 22 on draft night. Now, maybe there's someone I'm forgetting, and then someone's going to throw it back in my face and say, well, this guy got drafted recently. But it is very, very, very rare. Like, it is
Dalton
something
Connect in 2 years.
But he's not worth a first-round pick anymore, which is what was reported by a Lakers reporter.
Oh, no way. Really?
Wow.
Oh, that's crazy.
This is literally like, how many times I feel like if a guy gets drafted in the first round and they're not amazing as a rookie, they're not really usually ever worth a first-round pick anymore.
No.
Like, especially if a guy that is like 23 and now 24, and then obviously him struggling in summer league was the reason this article came out.
Buying my brand new car and returning it to the dealership and being
exactly.
Can I get a car that's worth $2,000 less that's also brand new a year later?
Exactly. It is literally driving a car off the lot. If you want to get a first round pick back, they better be pretty fucking good and or younger than 23. But this trade is definitely not good. I'm not making the argument this is good. I'm just saying when we look back at it, KCP is really the only like, damn, how could you have traded KCP when he was still clearly a championship level starter as a fifth guy? Because like the Lakers fucked up because they just kept wanting to get younger and more. Well, this trade is not the argument for that, but they kept trying to like basically repivot their window and go more offensively tilted around LeBron when like just keep the 3-and-D guys around LeBron and AD, and like you're probably going to be in the championship picture every single year. And they did end up getting back to the conference finals because they kind of pivoted out of that fairly nicely. But
they did. But I'm just saying, like, it's just such an insane thing to do when you're a championship team. You're like the defending champs. To do that when you're the defending champs, it's the only thing we've ever seen that's like kind of close to it was when the Mavericks all of a sudden were like, yeah, we want to get Darren Williams and Dwight Howard.
Well, they weren't the defending. They weren't the defending champions.
No, but they let Tyson Chandler walk to keep that cap space.
No. The Lakers were not the defending champions when they made this trade. They were a year removed from their championship. The Bucks won the year. This was at the 2021 draft because we had the weird shortened year. AD got hurt, and then they fell in the standings. They lost.
That's what it was. Round. AD got hurt, but that's what I'm saying. Like
the Schroeder trade was after they won the championship.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're still the defending. Like, Anthony Davis getting hurt, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like if
they still had a championship level team if they had made the right moves. I don't think that anyone.
This is what I'm saying. I feel like it's making the argument of like the 2008 Celtics versus like the 2010 Celtics. You know what I'm saying? You did kind of detonate some core pieces. Like you sent out 2 core pieces for a like bad core piece when the last time you were healthy, you were still good. You know what I'm saying? Like the Celtics didn't get back to the finals in 2009, but they were still good enough. They just KG got hurt. And I feel like a similar thing was going on with the Lakers.
For sure. And also they pivoted nicely, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. And the only player they have left from that trade is Jared Vanderbilt. And Jared Vanderbilt is on one of the worst contracts in the NBA.
Right.
And then I just want to like they still gave up a 2027 first. Like that first might not be that bad now because they're kind of figuring things out. They got a little bit of a life raft with this Luka trade, but like there's no guarantee that the 2027 Lakers pick doesn't have good value to the Jazz. Like, because that was their pivot out. There are a few pivot out trades that like made the original trade not look too bad, but they're still not good trades. Like they're still bad process and a lot of the times bad results.
There's one maybe you're gonna take it later on, but there was one that I got bumped off my list because they pivoted out of it.
I could keep doing the obvious ones. I'm gonna pivot a little bit.
Okay.
Should I get really spicy?
I've already done it, so yeah.
You know what? I'm doing creative. This is not. Stop taking everything so literally. There are worse trades, and I'll get to them.
Yeah.
But this trade is actually one of the ones that I kind of forgot.
Okay.
The Blake Griffin to the Pistons trade.
Yeah.
Because it actually ended up being the precursor to the Paul George trade because they got a lot of the things that they traded. So they on its face, you go, well, they traded Blake Griffin, who was still an all-star / all-NBA player, had a really good year for the Pistons before his body started to fall apart. And they traded for Tobias Harris, who ended up having a really good year for the Clippers. They flipped him. They got really good value from the Sixers. Avery Bradley, Boban. And this is the part that I need to know. I don't even know if you know this. But the pick that the Pistons traded to the Clippers in this trade was the pick that was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
I didn't realize. I guess they knew that they had like 12 and 13, 12 and 13. Yeah, right. And one of them was their own pick.
So they swapped with the I think it was 11 and 13, but they swapped the Miles Bridges and SGA on the night of the draft.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
So they basically got the pick that became Shai, which look, obviously that's worked out for the Thunder better than it worked out for the Clippers. We just went over that. But you traded for Blake Griffin, who, once again, kind of similar to the Sabonis trade, where it's like, what's the best case scenario of this? And then they ended up becoming the 8th seed, and Blake Griffin had one of the best years of his career for them the next year before his body fell apart. But, like, what's the best case scenario for the Pistons? Like, look, say what you will about Tobias Harris, but Tobias Harris was very good for the Clippers, and they got real stuff back for him, which ended up leading to the Paul George trade. But like to trade a pick that became an MVP for that version of Blake Griffin on a supermax contract. And the only reason they did it was because they were opening up a new arena and they wanted to get a big star to try to get people to come out and watch. And then they didn't even make the playoffs the next year in 2017, 2018, I believe.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Did they not make the playoffs? Because I guess if they had
they made the 8th. I remember they made the 8th seed the first year with Blake, I think.
So was it the first year or the second year? I think it was the second year.
Maybe you're right.
I think they missed the playoffs the first year with him. And then I think the second year, 2018, 2019, they made the playoffs, but he was like dying and like they had to like drag him to the finish line. And I think that they got swept by the Bucks in the 1-8 because
you're correct. He was on the team and they didn't make the playoffs. They finished
10th.
They were 19th out of 30. I want to see where they finished in the 9th in the Eastern Conference. So they barely missed the playoffs.
They would have had a shot with the modern play-in to make it, but not back then. So that's tough just because of what it represented, and it set the Pistons back to the point where they then had to kind of blow things up, and then it took them forever to get back to where they are now. So it really set them back several years. And look, they probably wouldn't have selected Shea with that pick. Like that might just be some bad luck. And we are a year removed from them taking Luke Kennard over Donovan Mitchell. So
yeah.
It won back-to-back picks, those picks. So, like, maybe they just were like, fuck it, we're not going to draft him anyway. Let's go get a surefire guy. But once again, the upside for that was always limited. Blake wasn't quite like Joel Embiid, but, like, Blake was starting to fall apart by that point. Like, Blake had missed a ton of games in the previous years.
He missed similar to Joel, he missed his whole rookie year, if I'm remembering correctly, right? With injuries? Yeah. So like he'd always been an injury prone guy. And also, I don't want to say hyper reliant on athleticism because he did have a lot of craft. Like people forget Blake Griffin, like as a passer was was a really good elite big man passer, but like he was a dunk, but like the athleticism was a big part of what like made Blake Griffin like a special player. Like
what's amazing though is, I mean, he was always, if he got injured, that was like pretty much the end of it for him. But what's amazing is that he ended up extending his range. He had a really good 3-point shooting season. And like, if he does not get completely derailed by the injuries, could have been, I mean, just think about Blake's athleticism with his passing ability. And then he can also shoot. Like that could have been an incredible player if he had been able to stay healthy. He was an incredible player, but yeah.
Well, I guess that's just what I was saying is that I feel like sometimes people, you young guys, let the unks talk for a second. Prime Blake Griffin was a problem, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like he really, like, I think that we the highlight dunks and him like putting everyone in a fucking body bag is like what's remembered about Blake. Blake was a really, really skilled player, like a really talented like player that, again, the injuries just derailed him, but he was a great passer. And I think he could have been like a very good late prime player if, again, the injuries didn't like have him because he did have so many skills, like as far as like dribbles. Yeah.
I think we talked about the best players who never got a chance to like be like a legit guy in a conference finals. He's got to be on that list.
Yeah, for sure.
Because he didn't. I mean, he was on that Celtics team that made the conference finals, but okay. I think Tracy McGrady was on a Spurs team that made the conference finals too. Like, it's not like as guys, like when they were the guy, like he's probably in the top 5 or 6 of those guys.
What was the highest he got in MVP voting? Do you have a third year? Was he third in MVP voting one year?
I think he was 4th or 5th one year. He was
third. Yep, he was third in 2013-14, which is great. Like,
which Chris Paul and him, I mean, that took his game to the next level, obviously, with being able to play alongside Chris Paul. But like,
it's such a bummer looking at like how hot he was out of the gate. He
was an all-star as a rookie, right?
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't miss his full rookie season. Oh no, he did.
No, he did miss his rookie, but you still get rookie of the year when it's the Benson's thing. You still get to be rookie of the year. But bro, his first season he played, he was an all-star the first 5 seasons he played in the NBA.
Damn.
He finished 10th in MVP the first year he played. That's kind of crazy.
I think the only other person I can remember doing that is Wemby didn't make the All-Star team his rookie year. Neither did Zion because Zion didn't play. I think he was the last rookie that made the All-Star team.
Yeah,
he was.
Or no, LaMelo, right?
No, LaMelo was second year.
Second year, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
last rookie to make the All-Star team. Yeah, no, last rookie to make the All-Star team, and I think the only other guy I could think of that did something similar to that was Grant Hill, who also had his career ruined by injuries.
He was second team All-NBA his second year playing in the NBA. That's kind of fucking crazy. Like, that's fucking crazy. Like, he was All-NBA 4 of his first 5 years. And then it all goes away for like to what we were just talking about, the 15, 16, 16, 17 stretch with the Clippers.
Yeah.
He never doesn't make it again. And then he has that one blip resurgence his age 29 year with Detroit, his second year in Detroit, and
made the All-Star team that year.
All-Star team and was All-NBA third team that year. But
yeah, but by the time they got to the playoffs, his body was like done. They got swept because he just couldn't do anything. I remember it was really sad. Everyone was like, "Damn, this sucks." But by the way, the year before he signed that Supermax deal with the Clippers, he played 35 games. So like there were signs that he was already starting to decline. But the fact that they drafted SGA with that is just crazy. And once again, what it represented, how the Pistons have gone since then. They finally gotten back, but this trade happened 8 years ago.
Yeah.
It took them a while to recover from this, and they had a full rebuild because of it. So that's
I wanted to give Blake Griffin his flowers. I feel like I forget about how good Blake Griffin was because it was such a short window, and it also kind of happened like, in the middle of like the Heatles and like the Clippers never really, the Lob City is they were kind of the also-rans. They were kind of the Drexler, Blazers or,
the Drexler Blazers at least made the finals. Like
that's true. Yeah.
The Clippers and the recent Sixers and the Embiid.
They never even made the conference finals.
No. Yeah. And they played in a much harder conference than the Sixers, at least. Like they played in the West when the West was fucking insane. I mean, they had to beat the Spurs and the Thunder and the Warriors and
Were the Spurs defending champs that year too, or
I think not 1-8. I'm sorry, the first round. I think there was they beat them in the first round, and they were I believe they were the defending champions.
They were defending champs, which is that's probably the best first round series of all time, right?
Yeah, it's up there. The other ones I can think of, honestly, the Sixers Knicks a year ago was amazing. That only went 6, unfortunately, but that was a great series.
Celtics Bulls is the other stock answer everyone has.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
that also only went. Oh no, that went 7. That one went 7.
It was a lot of OTs. It was like 8 OTs in that series. It was like 4 buzzer beaters. That is like an insane series.
8 OTs in a 7-game series.
I think that's because they kept going to double OT. Like some of them, the games didn't go to overtime, but like I went to game 2, which was one of the only ones that was regulation, but it was a Ray Allen buzzer beater. Like
Blazers Rockets, the year that Dame hit the game winner.
That was a really good one.
The series winner. Also wasn't Blazers OKC also first round? And that was the Dame walk off. I don't think that I don't know if that series was good though. I don't remember if that series was good, but the bad shot series was that Dame had a few iconic first round series moments.
That was probably should have tipped everyone off that Paul George was a career loser.
Also, I mean, I think a lot of people did decide at that moment that they were done with Paul George. But I have to put something on the record. I apologize for what I said during the Patreon episode. The 90s West was not weak. I was thinking of the 80s West. I conflated it in my mind. The 80s West, which was a bit more of a cakewalk.
We don't care about history. I don't like this. It's fascist. It's fascist to look at history. We only look forward.
Said it.
Yeah.
I've said it many times. Anyone who's nostalgic for the past, do some inner soul searching, because you're probably a fascist deep down. Anyway.
Yeah, it's fascist to say that old players were ever good. I agree with you.
Anything that happened before I was born doesn't matter. Anyway, continue, Sam. What are you going to take with the next? We're doing the last 10 years for a reason.
Mamu would have cooked Jordan in his prime. He had no
undeniable
shot against him.
Absolutely.
So I went. Yeah, let's do this one. I feel kind of bad about this one.
Just say it.
I mean, it's going to feel like I'm gloating, and I'm not. the Damian Lillard trade was really bad. And I'm sorry, like we can kind of shut the book on that as like that. And then this is one of those trades where it's like what I was talking about before, where it's like, it's kind of like the Nets trade where it's like, you end up making these bad trades when you run out of options. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not as bad as like, let's say, the Luka trade where it's like, why the fuck are you doing this? You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, we kind of have to do this, but you're making a bad bet. You know what I'm saying?
Active desperation.
Yeah. Active desperation. Now I was
Russillo, this is like, it's like last call at the bar.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You're looking around. There is literally a Bill desperation line about the Dame trade.
Yeah, this is the last call. Let's call it the bar. But like, look, I think that there were a lot of people who thought this trade could work. You know, like in the moment. You know, like I think that it was not really.
I did. Yeah, I thought it was a logical move. A team that can't score in the half court in the playoffs trades a defensively tilted player for one of the best offensive players in the NBA, and that was the element that the Bucks needed. And it did not prove to be the case because a combination of multiple things. We talked about the fact that the Bucks just didn't have enough good players around them. They were never available at the right times. And the synergy between those two was mid at best. Like it didn't feel like it ever was going to, maximize each other and lead them to a potential championship. I have written down here, I had it written down. The real reason why this trade is horrible is because it allowed the Celtics to get Drew. Like, and that's the factor. I also had the Horford Sixers trade written down here for the same reason, where when the Sixers traded Horford away, a year later, they then were able to get Horford back on the Celtics. And that's what made that trade seem so bad. But like, this was instantaneous. This was, hey, not only did we just trade away Drew for Dame, which is a worthy swing to take, we then had to turn around and see our best rival in the conference become virtually unbeatable for that season. And we basically ended up taking a step back the next year. They took a step forward. They win the championship. And then here we're sitting here 2 years later. Dame gets injured. They have to buy him out of the contract just to make a feasible roster around Giannis so we can try to keep him.
Yeah. And just, like, I mean, we are like, I think it was probably a bottom 10 percentile outcome, like of like this trade, just in terms of like luck, like where the injuries happened in the playoffs, where you end up having to buy him out. And now that's like a contract on the books, but like, unfortunately that is kind of what happened. And it leads to other compounding things like the Kyle Kuzma trade that I also had on my short list at some point, because you can't get over the hump. And now you're kind of compounding like problems with problems. And fuck, I just remembered one that I shouldn't have taken. I should have taken one different. All right, anyway,
take it. I probably won't take it. I'm trying to get creative with mine. So
okay, I was gonna say I did want to talk about the Durant trade.
Okay, so all right, let's move on from the Dame trade then.
Okay,
because we've talked about the Dame trade.
The Dame trade's like not fun to discuss. It's just bad. Like, I know there's not really an argument to be made there. Yeah. I do think that you can argue that the Durant trade.
All right, let's talk about I'm not going to take the Durant trade, but let's.
Okay.
I can't believe I'm going to say this because considering the value proposition between these two trades.
Yeah.
I think the Beal trade's worse than the Durant trade. And here's why.
You can. Yeah. Now look, one is downstream of the other,
True, yeah,
it's hard.
They were to me, they're on the same level at least, because like they were already fucked once they made the Durant trade. So like, that was my argument at the time. I was like, they can't do anything else.
Yeah.
So like, why not? Like, it was literally a why not trade. Yeah. But the Beal trade is so bad now in retrospect, and what you had said at the time. And I watched Bill and Russillo talk about this last night because I was trying to refresh my memory on what. But basically, Bill was like, "Are we sure Bradley Beal's even good?" Like when they made the Durant trade, even though the Durant trade has aged incredibly poorly because of the fact that they traded away Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, who then they turned around and got like 5 or 6 first-round picks. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Hand up.
At the time, we were both like, yeah, trade for Kevin Durant. Like, obviously, you trade for Kevin Durant, you could become a championship contender.
I remember myself, like, I remember being like kind of aggro the other way, being like, what are you talking about? Obviously, you trade for Kevin Durant.
Yeah. I said it for months and months
wrong.
and months and months leading up to it. And then when the trade happened, I was like, this is kind of a lot.
That's true. We did kind of.
Yeah. We were both like,
we did kind of.
It was like shocking to see how wait, they just traded away 2 good players in their prime and then all of their draft picks basically. Yeah. And
we didn't think the price was going to be that high.
Yeah, we were like, holy shit. Okay. So but here's the thing, and you're probably right that the Durant trade, just because like the Beal trade doesn't even happen if the Durant trade doesn't happen, because that's the reason that they got Beal was because Durant wanted him, because Durant's like a DC guy and a hooper, and Beal played for the Wizards and blah blah blah. But long story short on this, like the Beal thing, I just wrote it down like, so the Durant trade is fucking insane, obviously, considering, you know, even if you don't consider what the Nets got back for Mikal Bridges draft pick wise, like, and also got, I guess, Michael Porter Jr. in an unprotected first far out from the Nuggets for Cam Johnson. The Suns were in a win now position, so like the realistic argument is that they should not have been going insane and pushing in all the chips around that team. Like it was over, and they had needed to go the opposite direction, if anything. Like once Chris Paul aged out and DeAndre Ayton wasn't DeAndre Ayton on that contract, you had to make a pivot that was more like
soft reset.
What they're doing now, but with nothing in the future now. Like basically what they did with their last few moves, which was like, all right, can we just get like a pick here and try to take a swing and try to get Rasheer Fleming and like young guys in the draft? And
they should have done what the Celtics are doing this year.
Right.
Like, where you kind of like, you take you dump your more expensive DeAndre Ayton, like you let DeAndre Ayton walk. By the way, that's a big NBA what if DeAndre Ayton goes signed to the Pacers.
Yeah, I mean, that changes a lot, I think. Yeah. Also, another wrinkle was that at one point, I don't know if you remember this, but they knew they didn't want to pay Ayton, and they were literally discussing an Ayton for Sabonis trade at one point, I think, which would have
Pacers liked him. So they liked Ayton.
Yeah. So think about it like that. If they had done that trade, honestly, probably would have worked out way better for the Suns, because at least Sabonis plays games and gives a fuck. Now once again, he is a ceiling capper to an extent, but like him and Booker would have been pretty fucking good together, and you would have been pivoting to the post Chris Paul window at least. The Durant trade
shooting around him, you know what I'm saying? Sure. You would still had Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges on that team. Like that team makes a lot more sense than whatever the fuck they ended up doing, you know?
So the Durant trade is like one of those ones where, God, it's so much that they gave up, and but like, this is what the Beal trade was in comparison. It's basically nothing compared to what they gave up. It was just Chris Paul, who made a lot of money at the time, and they ended up flipping him for Jordan Poole, Landry Shamet. But the thing that, and the swaps are what really gets them in this trade. Because they had the swap. 2026, 2028, and 2030. And then they also couldn't aggregate salary. They couldn't basically make any real trades after this because they got Bradley Beal. They could only trade for like Royce O'Neal and those kind of guys once they got Bradley Beal, because they couldn't aggregate salary. They had no picks left, which then required them to make some of the worst trades we've ever seen in the history of the NBA, when they were trading swaps to Memphis and Orlando for second round picks, so they could literally have anything to trade. So that led them to, it all starts with the Durant trade, where it goes Durant trade not working out for them, then Beal trade doubling down on that, and then tripling down on that by trading away, because you have nothing to trade after you do these two trades, that they then have to trade swaps for second round picks, which they then turned into like Royce O'Neal. And like they turned like potentially a top 10 pick in the next draft into Royce O'Neal that the Memphis Grizzlies are going to be able to take now, because the Magic traded that to them this offseason in the Desmond Bane trade.
Ooh.
So, and now they're trying to trade Royce O'Neal. Like everything that they do is like, we're making deals like there ain't no tomorrow. Like literally, like they are making moves that like are just it's just an amalgamation of insane shit. Like it is just on top of each other how insane all of this stuff is. But it started with the Durant trade. You're right in that regard. But I'm not making that pick because it's too obvious. I'm going to go with another one that is a little bit creative and a massively lopsided one. You talked about Markelle Fultz for Tatum.
Yeah.
At least Fultz was Fultz. Like Fultz at the time we all thought was that guy.
I did. I was really mad at Danny Ainge for making that trade when that happened. Yeah.
Arguably not the worst trade of the 2017 draft. The Nuggets traded Trey Lyles and Tyler Linden, traded for Trey Lyles and Tyler Linden to the from the Utah Jazz, and they selected Donovan Mitchell with that pick. 13th pick in the draft, Donovan Mitchell. For the 24th pick, Tyler Linden, and all they got was Trey Lyles to do it.
Who was the GM they had before Danny Ainge? What was his name?
Dennis Lindsay?
Dennis Lindsay was kind of a bucket and a problem.
So what you're trying to say is that you support everything Dennis Lindsay has ever done or said?
Yeah, I'm sure he doesn't have anything bad to yeah, sure. I agree with everything he's had. Hard cosign on any and all Dennis Lindsay activities. Now to take a big sip of my thing and read up his Wikipedia page.
And Google Elijah Millsap.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So that was like the Jazz very clearly were good at identifying talent outside of the top of the draft. We talked about this until recently. They've like basically never had top 5 picks like regularly, like or top 10 picks even. Like this is really their first rebuild.
They were the Pacers before the Pacers.
Yeah. Yeah. They got Gobert. By the way, Denver selected both Gobert and Donovan Mitchell for them.
God damn.
Both of those picks. Now look, obviously Donovan Mitchell, that didn't end up mattering with the Donovan Mitchell thing. Like Donovan Mitchell ends up getting traded, the second he starts his second contract for the haul that they got for him, which does not end up on this list, but there's an argument to be made. It maybe should get a shout. But like once again, to trade a guy who has now made a first team All NBA, Donovan Mitchell, clearly one of the 10 or 12 best players in the NBA, and Donovan Mitchell, and get back Trey Lyles and Tyler Linden.
That's bad.
Really tough. And by the way, Denver's fine. They won the championship. They have Jokic. They have Murray. They have their core now. But if they got Donovan Mitchell, now look, they also would have had to select Donovan Mitchell. Maybe they didn't like Donovan Mitchell. Yeah. Like that's the thing is like, but also counter argument to that, Bam Adebayo was literally the next pick. So is Donovan Mitchell, Bam Adebayo right there? So like, if you just draft one of those two guys, you're like Denver goes from like a team that wins a championship and is consistently contending to like a dynasty.
Yeah. Oof.
So that's
a good
all
one.
I'm gonna say there. Yeah. That was again, that was a more creative, like off the board one that I decided to make there, but there are more obvious ones.
There's a couple of interesting. Can I go back? Pickle jar. Can I go back for one more? Yeah. I swear I'm not trying to get myself killed by the Raptors fans, but we do have to talk about the Thad Young thing. I'm sorry. Like
we knew it was bad at the time. By the way, I will say, if I were a Raptors fan, I am thanking fucking God that both Malachi Branham and Blake Wesley fucking suck, because that's who they took with that pick. I believe. I think it was Malachi Branham, if I remember correctly.
I believe so. Yeah.
And they just traded him. They salary dumped him for Kelly Olynyk, who just played for the Raptors. But like, yeah, I mean, what it represented was so dumb.
It did like, it's down here because it like didn't damage them that much, but just in terms of being a nonsensical,
why are they doing this
stupid trade? Like this is it is one of, in general, NBA GMs are like better about this stuff, but this is kind of like the Luka trade in terms of like what a very low tier version of like the like what are you doing?
I'm laughing at the idea that now we're probably the only podcast in the world that had that reaction.
Yeah, that's true.
That like a Luka level reaction. But I remember just being so dumbfounded by this trade and being like, Thad Young was 34. And he was like very clearly on the downward end of his career and was like at best an 8th man.
It's not like this was happening like during like in like 2003 or something like that. Like everybody knew what first round picks were worth.
Yeah.
Like first round picks, like what is it? A year later, the Celtics trade a first round pick for Derek White. You know what I'm saying? Like there's like it was like happening. Like first round picks were.
This was a year after Aaron Gordon got traded for basically a first round pick.
Yes, it's like it was known that this was like a value, and everyone's just like, wait, what?
It was no. It was the same deadline as the Derek White trade.
Gordon? Oh my god!
It was the 2022 deadline. One of the weirdest moves ever. And by the way, the way that they would justify it would say, well, they got the Spurs 2nd round pick, so it was like a 15 pick difference. But they took Christian Kolokolo with that trade, and he obviously didn't end up working out. But like the players that were still on the board when they made that pick were, we talked about this recently, but like Christian Brown was the next pick. Walker Kessler was the pick after that. Then you have to go a little bit further to get to like Nikola Jovic and then like Peyton Watson a little bit after that. It was a pretty bad end of the first. There were a lot of landmines. But then Andrew Nembhard, who is literally Canadian, was right after that. And then by the time they got on the board, there was barely any NBA players left.
It's just, it's like, again, I would have like had this one like 5th if there was like a real NBA player drafted with that. If the Spurs drafted a real NBA player with this, because this is such an unforced error. Like it's not, nobody's going to remember it except us because like
we're perverts. Yeah.
It didn't like impact anything really, but it is like, it is an insane amount of risk to open yourself up to for literally no fucking upside whatsoever.
It was so funny. It was so funny at the time where I was like, it was the first time that I was like, does Masai suck now? Like, what is that? Was really the canary in the coal mine for Masai being washed.
Yeah.
Was this trade, because like everything up until this point was still somewhat reasonable. And then this happened, and then everything went downhill from there.
Yeah, it just all fell apart.
Yeah, but a completely nonsensical trade. All right, I'm going to do a personal one now, and it is a more obvious one, but this is just personal in my heart.
Okay.
The Jimmy Butler sign and trade to the Heat has to be included here. And this is why, and this is why it drives me insane to this day. Once again, if you want to talk about bad trades happening and then that shifting the course of the next few years of the NBA, this is the life raft for the Miami Heat that we've talked about time and time again, where the Heat were fucked and the Sixers were like, hey, here's Jimmy Butler. Don't worry. We're going to turn around and sign Tobias Harris and try to build around Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid. And the reason why is because, do you remember this? What this the function of this trade was? It was, here, I'll tell you. The Heat also got Myers Leonard because they sent, which, if you want to talk about things that affected the next few years of the NBA, Myers Leonard, obviously one of the most iconic moments in the NBA, provided slightly after that.
Can I tell you? I'll let you finish your thing, but I have something to say about that. Good to do.
The Blazers got Hassan Whiteside because they had to salary dump him in order to. He had 1 year left on his terrible deal that they gave him. They salary dumped him to the Blazers, so that they could open up the space to get Jimmy back in this trade. This is what drives me so insane. The Sixers just got Josh Richardson. Okay.
Yeah.
The Clippers got Mo Harkless and a first-round pick from the Heat. The Clippers got the first.
For what?
For taking on Mo Harkless's contract from the Blazers to make the trade work. They got a 2023 protected first. Okay, ready? They then turn around and they trade this in the Paul George trade. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
OKC then goes back and negotiates with them in order to basically change this pick around for them. They keep the pick. Miami keeps the pick in 2023. They draft Jaime Jaquez with it. Okay. This pick ended up becoming Thomas Sorber in this draft in 2025. So the Sixers,
Mo Harkless,
instead of the Sixers just taking Mo Harkless's contract instead of Josh Richardson. They could have gotten a first-round pick. Why are the Clippers the one getting the first-round pick in this trade? You're sending them Jimmy Butler.
Sometimes you just need to have Josh Richardson on your team. It's funny because like we had Josh Richardson like 2 years after this, and he's maybe one of the worst Celtics of my lifetime. Like I really despise the Josh Richardson.
And he shot 50% from mid-range for you, and you turned around and traded him for Derek White with a first-round pick. Like the Sixers literally got lucky that the Mavericks traded them Seth Curry for him.
Yeah. He was a bad player. He was one of those players where it's like you look at his stats and you're like, oh, he's good. But if you were like watching him night in, night out, you wanted to put a fucking gun in your mouth. Yeah.
Overrated defender, horrible decision maker, consistently making, dude, he drove me insane. That was the first guy that was like, oh, if Miami trades you, you're gonna suck wherever you go. Yeah. And then then there was like a long list of those guys after this. But yeah, anyway, the Sixers didn't get the pick.
That is a rough one. I didn't know that.
It drove me insane at the time. I remember being like, why aren't we getting the first? We should get the first. God damn.
I mean, that's.
Is there anything you wanted to say about Myers Leonard?
So I got a thing recently. There's a TikTok. There's a TikTok recently, and the trend was like, it's like a trend where it's like, hey girl, do you play? It's like pretending someone's flirting with someone. It's like, hey girl, do you play video games? And the girl would like show her like being a professional gamer at tournaments, like holy fucking airball, or like.
I've seen that. I've seen that before.
Yeah. Like, and the thing is, like, you don't get it, and it's like, I was like, hey, your husband's retired, and it's like, oh, is he old? And then she said, holy fucking airball, and it was fucking Myers Leonard's wife. And it fucking kills me. I was dying laughing. I was not expecting that. It just came across my timeline. I was like, let's go.
No, he's not old. He just got caught saying a slur, you idiot.
He had a little slur while he was streaming. How is he not cashed in on the right wing pivot? That is like the easiest thing in the world, man.
I remember, first off, I do just want to point out.
You get a free card right now, like if you do a right wing pivot now.
Years before that happened, he went on Zach Lowe's podcast in like 2019.
Yeah.
And he did an interview with him, and he was talking about his brother who was in the Marines, and I was like, this guy is a demon. I was like, it will come out in time that Myers Leonard is a horrible person. I had to sit back and wait for like literally a year or two, and then it came out, and I was like, yep, 100% right. God damn. God,
hey guys, one of the funniest ends to a stream ever.
Yeah,
like it was very something.
Hey guys, anyway. Gotta go. We'll have our moment in the sun. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I gotta run real quick. Yeah. My wife's calling me.
Which I wonder which one of us. It's probably me, right? I'm the one who trips up first, probably.
I mean, first, I've already had to edit it out. Don't worry, I've said things on stream too where
I'm sorry, that's how I feel about Italians. I'm sorry.
My brain, anyway. I've had brain starts to sweat moments on the stream before. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. It's like,
you can just feel it. You can feel it in your head.
Look, sometimes you're having a little fun at the Italian expense. All right.
Was that my god damn? I have one that I literally should have taken in the top 5 that I haven't taken. But anyway,
just cook. You let me do 2 in a row. You cook.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
The Vucevic trade. How the fuck is it this far down, dude?
Yeah, I guess like because the Magic have never really gotten past the first round, so we don't remember it. But when Wendell Carter's like hooping, you're like, oh yeah.
Hold on, Wendell Carter, they got Franz Wagner.
Frauds too. Yeah, you forget about that. Yeah.
So the trade was
that's probably a top 5.
Vooch, by the way, Vooch and Al-Farouq Amino, and then they had to pay to get off the Al-Farouq Amino contract in the DeMar DeRozan sign and trade to the Spurs. Which they then amended that years later when they ended up. By the way, another trade that when I was looking at the transactions here, that I was like, why are they the Spurs got a pick swap for the DeMar DeRozan sign and trade for taking on Harrison Barnes, and the Bulls got nothing. Like The Bulls got literally like nothing back. It's like I absolutely wild. But so they took on Al-Farouq Amino for no reason and then had to pay to get off his contract in the sign and trade with DeMar DeRozan. They got Vucevic back in the middle of the COVID season, as we pointed out before. Zach LaVine immediately got COVID after this. So their play-in push fell short. They didn't put enough protections on the pick. If they had just top 10 protected this pick, it would not have been a disaster. And I don't think Orlando would have been like, no, we're not doing the trade. They did the trade because they're like, oh, we'll get 2 firsts and Wendell Carter Jr., who was still on his rookie contract, by the way. But like, they got Wendell Carter Jr., the pick that became Franz, and this could have been worse. This could have been worse for them if the Magic didn't completely whiff on the Jet Howard trade or the Jet Howard pick. If they had taken basically anyone, if they had just taken even Grady Dick there, like, it would have been significantly worse for. And by the way, Jet Howard was taken 1 pick before Derek Lively is the other part of that. So obviously a lot of these trades are about draft picks and like hitting on the draft picks, but this could have been an even bigger disaster for the Bulls than it ended up being. But like, to put yourselves in your current situation where you're just a consistent play, you're stuck in the middle, play-in team, and this is such a symbolic trade for Karnisovas. Like, this is the ultimate Karnisovas trade where it's like, you overvalue a player like Nikola Vucevic, you lock in on that player and say, we'll do whatever we can to get him, and then you overpay for him and you have no forward thinking at all, and then they end up getting, I think Franz will probably make all-star teams with the pick, and you also end up giving up Wendell Carter Jr., who's like currently better than Nikola Vucevic and was very, very young at the time. So yeah, that is such a bad trade, dude. That's a horrible, horrible trade for them.
Yeah, that one's really, really
They got
bad.
an extension. They extended their front office this offseason. One of the worst deals we've ever seen.
Can I tell you something, speaking of worst deals?
Yes.
Former attorney for Jeffrey Epstein, Roy Black, has died.
Who?
Roy Black, who used to be Jeffrey Epstein's attorney.
That's his name? I didn't know his name. How old was he?
I don't know. He was the one who negotiated his 2008 plea deal. The one that South Florida, the one that Acosta was part of, that like got him
hold on, I'm looking this up right now. This is breaking news. We need to.
Yeah, I was gonna say he
was very old.
It's a perfect cover.
He was 80.
The perfect cover.
This is you made me think he was like 45.
Oh,
I was
no,
like,
I didn't know.
I was like, what?
I didn't know how old he was, but I just knew he was Jeffrey Epstein. Anyway,
no, hold on. Pour one out for Roy Black.
Yeah, shout out to Roy Black. He was just doing his job.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll go now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the DeJounte Murray trade. Now you're going to ask me, Sam, which DeJounte Murray trade are we talking about? And I'm going to say yes.
Both.
We're
so
doing
here's
both.
I had a list of hard to figure out ones because once again, we talk about like on its face, the DeJounte Murray trade is a disaster.
Yes.
But they kind of pivoted out of it, as we talked about a few times with a few of these trades where we're like, another one that's a perfect example of this that I'm not going to take is the other Jimmy Butler trade, where the Wolves traded Jimmy Butler for Robert Covington and Dario Saric. Yeah. And you're like, man, that's so bad. But then you look at their next year or two and you're like, well, it did make them bad enough so they could draft Ant. And then they flipped Robert Covington into Malik Beasley on a first round pick. And with that first round pick, they took Jaden McDaniels. Yeah. So and then they traded all those guys that they got in that trade for Robert Covington for Rudy Gobert. So you're like, is this really that bad? Because it's once again, they got Dyson Daniels and 2 first round picks.
Yes, it was. Yeah, Dyson Daniels, the 2025 LA Lakers, and the 2027 least favorable of the Milwaukee Bucks or the New Orleans Zone. So
That could
be a pretty good pick. Yeah.
That could still be a decent pick. And they just got the Lakers first, right? Is that what you said?
Yes, the Lakers first was the one that
they ended up flipping that with Terrence Mann for Porzingis.
Oh, I didn't realize. So that one's out the door. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Because the Asanul one was from the Kevin Huerter trade, which I also had written down here, which I don't really know what to do with. Because Kevin Huerter at the time was a fine trade, but that ended up becoming the pick that allowed them to get New Orleans basically unprotected first next year. They still got Asanul, who they wanted to draft.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you got to look at the DeJounte trade like this. The real damage we thought they were going to pay with the DeJounte trade was in the next 2 years, right? 2026, 2027. I don't think the Hawks are going to be bad enough for that really to Carter Bryant is probably the best player the Spurs will get.
Yeah.
And do you really give a shit about that? I know you like Carter Bryant, but I'm not losing sleep over that. They got Dyson Daniels. I actually think the way they pivoted out of it might end up better than what they gave up. Which is crazy.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Is I do like Carter Bryant, but if you tell me which side of this do you want, I kind of want the side that they ended up getting there.
Would you rather have Dyson Daniels, Porzingis?
Yep.
Well, you would probably say no. I would rather die than watch Kristaps Porzingis play for my team again.
I do really like Dyson Daniels, and you don't have to worry about Kristaps Porzingis.
And the Porzingis thing
will remove himself at some point from your starting lineup, so you don't have to worry about that. It'll take care of itself.
Yeah.
So, God, he fucking. I can't believe that he played. Just fucking sit on the bench, son of a bitch. Anyway.
You just had a flashback in the middle of the podcast.
Yeah, I did.
That legitimately startled me because I looked at my phone for a second and I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's all right. I just fucking remember. Why are you have a disease? It's I want to play like ass in front of everyone for no reason. Just fucking, anyway. But yeah, I guess I don't want to talk about that. But I think the Pelicans version of this is quite bad. To be totally honest.
So the Pelicans gave up Dyson Daniels and 2 firsts. One of them, who was the pick that they gave up? Who did that end up becoming? Because it wasn't Asanul, because that was the Huerter trade.
It was.
The Nets. Didn't the Nets get it? Yeah, the Nets got it, and they probably took Serif. I think it was the Serif.
Was that the Serif pick?
Yeah. There were some good players on the board, but then again, the Pelicans. I mean, the Pelicans obviously. The Pelicans also had to pick in that range, and then they traded it for Asanul. Yeah. It's very confusing, all of the moving pieces here.
Yeah. I'm trying to go back from. Hold on. From LA Clippers. No, where's the LA Lakers one? Shit, I can't find it.
I'm telling you, it was Ben Serif.
Okay.
I'm almost certain it was. Hold on, wait. No, it
was New York.
Miles Powell. It was Miles Powell, wasn't it? Wait, am I saying Miles Powell? It's Drake Powell. What?
Drake Powell, yes. It was the Drake Powell pick, yes.
Okay, so
Asanul was the next pick. Neat Clifford was the pick after that. Jace Richardson was the pick after that.
Okay.
That's a little bit of a...
There's a chance that those guys are good, and then, definitely. There were good players good prospects left on the board.
Yeah.
Having said that, the return for New Orleans for the DeJounte Murray trade was Dyson Daniels. They sent the pick that became Drake Powell and this future pick that the Hawks still have.
Yeah, the 2027 pick, the Bucks or New Orleans pick, which is a pretty good chance to be pretty good, in my opinion. If you're trading Jay Liddell,
if you're trading for DeJounte Murray, you're almost certainly always going to lose the trade. Is the moral of the story here?
Yes, and it's also bad because DeJounte Murray immediately got hurt twice.
Yeah,
and I think even if he wasn't hurt, he still would have been bad.
Yeah.
For them. So
definitely.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to do another double up here.
Okay. Yeah. Take us home.
Two Nets trades.
Okay.
The Nets trading both James Harden and Kyrie Irving. They traded James Harden and Kyrie Irving, and here was the return. Okay. Ready? Ben Simmons, worst contract in the NBA when he was on their team, barely ever played
Yeah.
When he did, he was terrible. They ended
We
up having
probably should have picked that earlier. That is a disaster trade.
This should have been very high, but I also wanted to try to get creative with some of these moves. Seth Curry, who was fine, but never really made an impact for them. Drummond left after the season. Dorian Finney-Smith, who they've already traded for second-round picks. Spencer Dinwiddie, who I think they traded for Dennis Schroeder at the next deadline. Yeah, they traded for Dennis Schroeder a year later, who they also turned into second-round picks. And they traded away James Harden and Kyrie Irving to do it. And they have 1 first-round pick to show. Oh, I'm sorry. They have 2 first-round picks to show for this. But the 1 first-round pick from the Sixers, by the way, there was a 3-month period where it looked like that Mavericks pick was really juicy. Yeah. Remember? We were like, oh, the Nets have their future first. And that could end up being kind of juicy in 2029 when all this falls apart. And da-da-da. And then they got Cooper Flag in the draft.
God,
and
the Nets are so, yeah.
They're and by the way, I just want to point out here, we've been talking about if everything goes poorly for the Sixers, they can tear it down. And then the Nets might not even get that first round pick because the Sixers just have to tank for a year. And then it turns into a second. Because they own their 2020. Okay, they own their 2020. Hold on. So the Sixers have their pick next year. I think the Nets own their 2028 pick.
Okay.
So I guess they would have to tank for 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the odds are the Nets are going to get a decent pick out of that, but it's top 8 protected. So the best pick it can be is the 9th pick in the draft. The Nets are eternally cursed is definitely the case here.
And also, it's so funny that they're cursed in a way that's like so different from like the Pelicans, Kings, and Hornets. Like all 4 of those teams are incredibly cursed.
Yeah.
But in like such different ways where the Nets keeper like they're like
anything that can go wrong will go wrong if the Nets are involved.
They're like I'm blanking on the name of this Greek. There's a Greek one where there's a guy who's like always thirsty and hungry and he can't get the water. Like the torture is the water. Like he's standing in a pool of water, but he's dying of thirst, but the water all runs away from him before he can get a drink. That's the Nets. They're always like very close to like, and the food, I think his name is like Tarantulas or something like that. I believe is the guy's name, but
perfect.
Yeah. That is the fucking net, like versus like every day for a Kings fan is just Tartarus, hellfire, burning, death. You know what I'm saying? Like the Nets are like this, like, sort of like complicated psychological torture. That's like very different. Where like
it's almost worse because they've had chances. Like there was a time where it was like, oh my God, the Nets. Never mind. That instantly fell apart.
I guess the Kings at least make the playoffs. So maybe the Hornets are probably the better, like just hellfire
the Hornets
team.
are just never. The Hornets are
purgatory. That's purgatory.
They're still in utero. They're not. Yeah. They've never been born. They don't even know what it's like.
They're in limbo. They're the dead babies in limbo.
Yeah, they've never had any sort of life to compare it to. Them winning Summer League was literally one of the greatest moments in the history of their franchise. And it's an exhibition thing. Does not count.
God, so does that make like the New Orleans are in the fields of Elysium where there's just ghosts? It's all the ligaments of their players that should have been good or
basically
heroes and something like that. Chat. Hop in with your favorite, whatever your favorite of the Divine Comedy Circles of Hell you think each NBA franchise is. So,
by the way, I want to go back here and just say that the other part of this trade was that the Sixers had, so the Sixers gave them their 2020 first, 2022 first, and they said you can either have our 2022 or 2023. The Nets deferred to 23.
Yep.
Okay, the Sixers were better the next year.
Yeah.
And then they had already traded that pick, and they traded that for Royce O'Neal. So they traded that for Royce O'Neal, and the crazy the pick ended up being the worst of the Sixers, the Rockets, whatever. I just want to talk about everything they touch being cursed. The Jazz took Bryce Sensabaugh with that pick. And the Nets, in their 2 picks they had in the higher in the 20s, were Noah Clowney and Derek Whitehead.
Is Noah Clowney bad?
Noah Clowney has a chance to be an NBA player. I'm not saying he isn't, but now
Derek
the best of those 3 is Bryce Sensabaugh.
Bryce Sensabaugh for sure. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that, like, no matter what the Nets do, it will go wrong. I mean, the most recent example is the trade that they fucking made to get their pick back. And then they ended up 2 spots ahead of the Suns.
Jesus Christ.
And the Rockets got that pick at 10. They got the pick at 8. And by the way, the Nets only got their last year's pick and this year's pick back. The Rockets still have their pick in 2027, I think.
Dog. We should have done that. We should have done that way earlier.
Oh yeah.
That's a bad. I don't know why. I kind of like memory hold that. I forgot how
it should. Honestly, I should have. I had it literally 3rd on my list, but I wanted to go a little bit off the board once I got to that point. Yeah. I had it 3rd behind the ones that I picked earlier, but
yeah, that's a really.
And you weren't taking any of the ones you were like, let's talk about this random trade from, and I was like, all right, well then I got the big ones.
The Luka one was the obvious one that I didn't want to take for the reason that I thought. Sure. That one I just fucking forgot about for whatever reason. I don't know. That's on me. That's a bad. I did not. That one I probably should have taken that 1 second ahead of the Markelle Fultz and Tatum.
That's what I'm saying. But either way, these are all valid selections, I would say. Is there any other ones that you really want to take, or is there? Should we start wrapping it up since we are 2 hours and 10 minutes?
No, we're talking about. Well, you know what? I realized once I just doing this is I was not. We fucked up like all the transaction sicko. Like I kept like being like, yes, I get to talk about this one, and it was like a 2014 trade. I was like, fuck! Like there was like
I did it for a reason because I know you love to reminisce over that era, and I was like, no, we have to keep it modern because otherwise it's just going to be trades that none of these players are in the NBA anymore.
Yeah, I really want to talk about like the Michael Redd, John Salmons trade. Like
we can do
bleak.
If people like this episode, we can go back further. I just won't. I feel as though I wasn't a sicko during that era, so I won't have as much to contribute. We'll have to have a 3rd person on.
Yeah,
that knows more about that era because I was still somewhat of a casual.
Okay, that's like when I was like a diehard. Was like 2008, like when the Celtics started being good in 2008 to like the start of the basically like 2015 was when I was literally like, really locked in on
the complete opposite of me.
Yeah,
where it's like that's my blind spot because when I went to college, I just didn't care as much anymore, and the Sixers suck. So I was like, this is easy to kind of zone out of whatever. Or they were mid. They were just kind of uninteresting. And then I got somewhat interested again when the process started, but I lived in New York at the time, and I had like a life.
Yeah,
and then when you're at your points of I have no life, that's when you lock in the most.
Yes,
which is why I've been in my late 20s, early 30s. I've been very locked in on this shit.
The 2015. I told the story 1 week about getting broken up with and then immediately listening to "Run Away with Me" by Carly Rae Jepsen on the podcast. So that same girlfriend 2 years earlier, I have a memory of being out on the town with like her and her mom, and I was like doing my absolute best to be a good boyfriend. But it was the 2013 like NBA draft, and I remember pretending to tie my shoe on the sidewalk because the Celtics were on the clock. And like Twitter didn't really have like breaking news the way that it got, and I was like, I kept like, oh no, I kept like fucking like, I kept like,
you couldn't be like, hey, I'm just gonna check my phone real quick. You had to be like, I'm gonna be.
You couldn't, but it didn't like exist. Like the technology for like late breaking like news didn't really exist then. Like Twitter wasn't like as news advanced. Plugged in, like back in the day.
So Woj was still at Yahoo, and Shams wasn't a thing yet.
And this was, I remember this day because they like traded for, and I was waiting for the pick, and then because they traded up for Kelly Olynyk.
Yeah,
I didn't know that, and I was like, oh my god. And then I got back to like my girlfriend's apartment, and then all the stuff started leaking about the Nets trade, and that stuff. But it was But I remember being like, well, yeah, we can go out with your mom, sure. Like, but then like seeing that the Celtics were up on the TV and like doing like a fucking like Three Stooges sketch.
Imagine they had taken Giannis and you missed the Giannis pick.
I know. I kind of wanted Giannis that draft, like not hard, like, but I hated the Kelly Olynyk pick. I hated every Celtics pick except for like Jared Sullinger, which was
when I wasn't as locked in, I basically had Eagles fan brain when it came to the draft, where like we always make fun of it. Like someone, I can't remember who, I apologize, but someone sent into the Discord earlier into our Sixers channel, and it would have said Dalton Connect's values at an all-time low. They said they sent it in and they said Eagles fans in shambles, because Eagles fans were like, I know who Dalton Connect is, and they were pissed when we took Jared McCain instead of him.
That's so funny.
But that's like how I was about the draft. But like occasionally it is the bell curve meme. Yeah. Where it's like I was like in 2018, I was like, draft Michael Porter Jr. and Mikal Bridges. Like that was like I know who they are. Yeah. Draft those guys. And those would have been good picks, better than fucking taking Zaire.
Yeah.
So sometimes you do get it right. But Ace Bailey fans, unfortunately, you will not. Eagles fans who wanted Ace Bailey instead of VJ Edgecombe, you will be on the wrong side of history. I am here to inform you.
I agree with that.
Okay. Flag. So, all right. So let's just do a little speed run here, where I name some ones that are near and dear to our hearts.
Okay.
Tobias Harris trade is really not that bad. Just what became of it is what is bad.
Yeah, re-signing him is the bad part.
The trade was Landry Shamet and the picks that became Sadiq Bey and Trey Mann. You can live with that. Tobias was a starter for us. Like, that's fine. No. Giving him the massive contract they did is the real bad part of that. You're going to want to close your ears for this one. The Marcus Smart trade is a fucking disaster.
I swear to God, I actually did mean. Yeah, I was going to surprise everyone by bringing that up, because that is a disaster. That honestly probably should have been higher. Yeah. Like, the Grizzlies have been like kind of a perfectly run front office for like
until that.
And have been pretty good since then, but it like submarined that, like it like genuinely derailed like.
Yeah, I have it written down here.
Yeah,
they traded Tyus Jones and a late first in 2023. You can live with the late first in 2023. It's fine. But the lottery pick ended up becoming Bub Carrington, who, by the way, the Wizards got for trading Denny Avdia, who is the exact kind of player that the Grizzlies could use.
Yep.
So that's another part of it. And then the Grizzlies have been kind of ass or mid ever since. Now, part of that is injuries. But the other part of this is that they then had to turn around and salary dump Marcus Smart, and they had to give up the 18th pick to do it, which then they turned around and they traded Desmond Bane and a first that they got from that trade for Cedric Coward, which puts a lot of pressure on Cedric Coward to be good. So it's kind of all tangled in that web, right? So basically they gave up 3 firsts for Marcus Smart that could have been used to acquire to get a better player who would have fit better. And it essentially sank the last few years because that was the only big move that they made. So that one was tough for them. Yeah. We did get to most of these things that I wanted to talk about. So just an honorable mention to Serge Ibaka for Victor Oladipo and Sabonis, which we've talked about before.
By the way, can we do a Genie You're Free? Because are we not going to mention Gobert? Did Gobert beat the allegations?
I think the Gobert and Mitchell trades have actually been way better for the teams.
I think Gobert kind of beat. Well, Gobert's the big one. I think it beat the allegations.
Like, what they have I think there's a swap and a first left from that trade, and like, are the odds of Minnesota they're not going to be worse than the Jazz. And the only thing they got back good from that trade was Walker Kessler.
And like, that's kind of Rudy Gobert's better than Walker Kessler. Like,
I'll say this much. The Jazz made the wrong bets against teams in the Cavs in Minnesota because they underestimated how good Anthony Edwards and Evan Mobley would be and how well they would be able to build teams around those guys. But they also are kind of having a little bit of Nets luck. Where it's like everything that could go wrong has gone wrong.
Yeah.
In that, like, those teams are like really fucking good and they're not getting their chances, but at least they're starting to they're taking enough. Utah's very obviously way behind what OKC was, but because they didn't have a Shea style player to build around.
Right.
But they are taking swings in the draft at least. Because I think Clayton was one of the picks that they took. So it was like Clayton, like, and then also them turning the Cavs and Minnesota picks into that unprotected Phoenix pick. That's at least helping the
something.
Jazz.
Yeah, that was a good move. Yeah.
They're at least moving in the right direction, but it's still very much Minnesota and Cleveland walking away with those trades.
The first thing I did, I was trying to remember trades that made me go, what? Like when I was like prepping for this. And the first thing I did is I went and looked up the Gobert return. And I was like,
yeah.
Demon Conley, man, like he kind of got away with it. He kind of got away with it. Like,
also a footnote on that.
Yeah,
I'm glad they didn't trade for Kevin Durant. I think that I think that the way that they need to be able to try to compete is with a deeper, better team, and they have that. And I think it made way more sense for Houston to make that trade than it did for Minnesota. And by the way, the Minnesota package would have been Gobert, Dante, and Terrence Shannon Jr. And like, I think Terrence Shannon Jr. is good. I've been saying he's good. And then you also have Dante and Gobert included. And like, you could still make other trades now. Like, honestly, if you want Minnesota's worst move, and it's yet to be seen, but Minnesota's worst move is the Rob trade.
Yeah.
And
we'll see. You know, you're probably right, though. That probably is bad.
But every other move Conley's made has basically been spot on. Like, has been like a great trade, or signing or whatever. Okay, so
I guess like the next worst one would be like Cat, and that's just kind of everybody. I think everybody made out all right. You know, like I don't think anybody
so far at least.
Yeah.
Okay. So another Kyrie trade, the Celtics Cavs trade was pretty much a disaster for the Cavs.
I mean, it was 2017, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I read every transaction since 2015. I went back and I read every trade today. So that's tells you
where
my brain is.
Yeah.
2015. Yeah. That was 2017. Oh no, it was
2016. Summer of 2016, I think. Yeah. Because it was
summer of 2017.
No, yes, because Tatum. Sorry, they drafted Tatum in 2017. Yes, correct. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, the Cavs trade for Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, and how do you say this last guy's names? Ante
Zizic. Yeah.
Zizic. Yeah. Zizic. And honestly, this trade could have been great for the Cavs. And look, the Cavs are fine. It ended up working out for them.
I mean, the Celtics did their patented move of not disclosing medicals and doing the fucking Matilda thing from fucking the Danny DeVito character from Matilda with the bad car. We're the most evil team. We've done that like 3 times, like to teams.
Yeah. I mean, we literally just saw it again with Drew and every time
the Drew thing. Like, yeah,
it's unbelievable. Once again, I've been saying, please stop. If you trade with the Celtics, it's the opposite of the Nets, where you just get touched with a poison, and it just erodes your franchise.
I don't even think it's luck. I think we're just evil. I think we just keep like guys come to us and disclose an injury, and we're like, oh, that's too bad, and then he like shuts the door on the phone, like. Yeah. Who do you want? What do you want from Marcus Smart? Yeah.
Oh, by the way, does that truly mean that the Pacers and Hallie have the devil magic? Because they're the only ones that have overcome it with the Nesmith trade. They're the only ones who have flat out won a trade with Brad Stevens and the Celtics.
And that was the one everyone was the most mad about in the moment.
Yeah. Because everyone was like, Brogdon is good, and none of these guys are good. And then Nesmith turned out to be way better than Brogdon. So
it could also be that the Brogdon narrative battles. He's like kind of a one-man's Philadelphia 76ers where he's
guard Tobias Harris, but Tobias has somehow evolved past this in his post-Sixers career, has won a narrative battle against the Sixers already. But anyway, all right. So
shout out to Tim, who said he just opened this up 2.5 hours after we started, thinking he would get a replay, and we're still going.
Do you know who we are? Put some respect on our name.
Yeah. It's the of course it's still the height of the playoffs. Of course we're still recording 2.5. Oh well.
Whoops. Anyway, it's almost August. All right. So by the way, the Cavs, that trade wouldn't have been that bad if they hit on the Sexton pick. They just took the worst player. No, Sexton isn't the worst player, but Sexton. SGA was still on the board. Mikal Bridges was still on the board. Michael Porter Jr. was still on the board. There were many good picks they could have made there that would have saved face in this trade, but they didn't. But the one way they did save face was they traded. But this is the other funny wrinkle of this trade. They traded Isaiah Thomas, Channing Frye, and a late first that became Mo Wagner in the 2018 draft for Larry Nance and Jordan Clarkson, who helped them get back to the finals, but then also gave the Lakers the cap space to sign LeBron after the season. So it basically it somewhat backfired on them. They also traded Jay Crowder for Rodney Hood and George Hill, who were also George Hill was at least an important part of that finals team. Rodney Hood was kind of cooked, but
I love Rodney Hood. That was one of my guys.
Sixers Al Horford trade. I had to throw it out there just because OKC has our pick next year for sure, basically, because it's only top 4 protected. We'd have to basically be the worst team in the league to not give that away, and it's not looking good already. And then the Horford element of him going back to Boston. Danny Green plays for the Sixers for 2 years, gets hurt both times in the playoffs. Dewey, get off the camera. God damn it, Dewey. He's sitting literally directly.
Literally putting an eye. It's like Jurassic Park when the T-Rex is like outside their window.
All right, well, this will just be the rest of this podcast will be him sitting in front of my camera, which I cannot control now. So thank you, Dewey. Okay, now he's trying to knock my computer over. It has been 2.5 hours. I'll try to wrap this up as soon as possible. Terry Rozier to the Heat. Dog shit trade for the Heat. Dog shit
trade. Yeah, really
horrible. Bad. We already did Kyrie trade to Dallas. I talked about the Suns swaps. I just wanted to tell you this one because this will really scratch an itch for you. When Detroit traded for Marcus Morris, Reggie Bullock, and Danny Granger, and Phoenix only got a second-round pick back because they were trying to sign LaMarcus Aldridge in 2015 free agency, and then he went to the Spurs. So they gave away 2 rotation players.
I forgot about that.
Literally just gave them fucking Reggie Bullock and Marcus Morris. Unbelievable. Also, the Wizards making, by the way, Wizards, when they were in their current Toronto Raptors / Chicago Bulls / Sacramento Kings era, in 2015, they were 21-24, and they made a win now trade for Markieff Morris at the deadline in what became the 13th pick in the 2016 draft.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. And
that was another one.
Like fucking cooked. Like,
I think Markieff was still decent. He definitely had moments with the Wizards, but he was certainly not. At that point on, because at the time people thought Markieff was the better brother.
Yes,
and then Marcus was very clearly better after this.
Yes, it was like the Suns. It flipped when like Marcus went to the Celtics.
Yeah,
but like Markieff on the Suns, like because Marcus was on the Pistons and like.
He was pissed about that trade. I just talked about that salary dump. He was furious that they split them up.
And it fucking. But I remember that because I've always been a little bit of a Wizards sexual. I've been like Wizards curious. Like a lot of my like NBA like life.
Sam just loves DC and everything that's there.
Yeah, I look. I just think it's good, especially right now. Look, I'm just saying, 2017. To 2020, it was really good in DC, and now it's coming back.
Everything's great again. We've made
again.
DC great again.
DC has been made great again. Was that because 2017 was when they made the conference, right? Like,
that was when they 2016, 2017. Yeah,
it was when they made the
Wizards can only thrive under Trump. They were horrible under Biden.
They need a Republican. They were bad under Obama. Like,
yeah,
George W. Bush. Like, that was the Gilbert Arenas. It was Gil time under George Bush. So
the Wizards are only good with Republican. That's a great theory. We'd love to see it.
We'll have to bring Jamie on for that one. We have to.
Yeah, let's break that down. Yeah. But yeah, no. So long story short, they made a win now trade, and then they ended up with the 13th pick of the draft, going to the. That was the Papagiannis pick, by the way. I do just want to.
But there were guys on the board though.
No, there were definitely good players. Like I literally that was one of the trades where because the Suns traded up for Marquise Chris, who sucked. There were landmines, as you pointed out in that draft. There were a ton of landmines, but there were still good players on the board. I mean, they didn't go until a little bit later, but Karis LeVert and
Yeah, I get. Yeah, that was what we were talking about last week. But
that range
is really brutal. Like
until DeJounte and Siakam at the end of the first, and Karis LeVert.
Yeah, it's basically
So Wizards goated. Wizards seeing that was going to be a dog shit draft.
Maybe
I thought it was very funny. Okay, so Boogie Cousins for Buddy Hield and what became the 10th pick of the draft. Boogie tore his Achilles immediately after they got him.
A classic Pelican. That is like the most Pelican transaction.
Because they won that trade by a mile for a month. It was
Yes.
like everyone was like Anthony Davis, Boogie Cousins, Twin Towers, we're fucking back. And then immediately they were like, nope, tears Achilles. And then that was it. He never played for the Pelicans again.
That is like short form the New Orleans Pelicans. Like that is just the New Orleans Pelicans franchise history. Like right there.
Yeah.
Like it's oh god.
They're lucky that pick only became Zach Collins too, because the Blazers traded up for Zach Collins, which I believe is also related to the Papagiannis trade. So yeah, I had the Fultz for Tatum one here. Jimmy one. Okay. Derek White trade was horrible for the Spurs, but also they got Wemby a year and a half later. So who really gives a fuck? Like, yeah, I don't know. I can't really get too mad at that one. The opportunity cost for them to tank in the Wemby draft was massive. By the way, this is one that actually made total sense at the time, but ended up aging poorly for the Magic, which was the Fultz pick, which was a top 20 protected first, sent back to the Sixers. The Sixers owned this pick at one point. And they got Maxey with that pick. So that was one. This was my favorite trade the whole time. You're going to love this one. Ready?
Okay.
June 14th, 2017. The New York Knicks acquire the rights to Scott Perry as general manager for a 2019 second round pick.
How do I not remember this?
I don't remember this at all. They traded
a general manager. I remember the Doc Rivers like thing, like with the Clippers, with the Celtics.
They traded a GM for a second round pick in 2019. That became no one. It was Iggy Bradzikis or whatever his name was.
Yeah, I think he didn't come over.
No, he played for the Knicks. And the Sixers had him for a little bit. He's just not an NBA player. But by the way, that blew my mind because you know who's the current GM of the Kings, right?
No.
It's Scott Perry. He's back. So it's
I forgot. Oh my god!
So it's just like the Dame trade. They got him back.
This is. Oh my god, dude! Oh my god.
This is one that's gonna break your soul that I have to mention here. Desmond Bane, draft night trade for Enes Kanter salary dump. After they did not need to bring Enes Kanter in, they brought Enes Kanter in on a 2-year MLE and then had to salary dump him for the pick that became Desmond Bane, the Celtics in 2020.
I'm literally not kidding. I think I trauma memory hold that because
I remember you crashing out of that over that so hard.
I because that is the most mad I've ever been at a Celtics front office ever, and I'm like, oh, it didn't matter that much. It was like everyone knew Desmond Bane was good. Mm-hmm. Everyone, it was $5 million of salary. It was nothing.
It was nothing.
It was nothing.
Were you guys in the tax?
No, it didn't fucking sense.
Yeah, it really doesn't make sense.
It cost fuck. I was like, oh well, we wouldn't have drafted Desmond Bane. I was like, okay, well that fucking is stupid. If you didn't draft Desmond Bane, he was fucking bored. Oh my god, I forgot about that. I'm getting mad thinking I was like, oh, god damn it, dude. Marcus Smart should have a ring. Danny Ainge, the blood is on your head. That was when I turned on Danny Ainge hard. And I said he sucks now. He's bad. And it turns out he was good because the rest of that draft was Peyton Pritchard and Aaron Nesmith.
I was gonna say
I was mad at him.
Peyton Pritchard's turning out to be pretty good. It saves face a little bit.
Well, and Aaron Nesmith was a good play. Danny Ainge really was just Romeo Langford. Every other pick he made was actually pretty good.
Okay, so Aaron Gordon trade. I already remember. By the way, they have a chance to save the Aaron Gordon trade, and I need you to know this piece of information. The last pick from this trade was Jace Richardson. So the Magic might not, and I think Jace is going to be really good. He was awesome in Summer League.
So good, man.
Okay, just quick question for you.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever had an upgrade on a positional group like the Magic have from last season to this season? Their best guard last year was Corey Joseph, and now they have Desmond Bane, Jace Richardson, and their third best guard is Tyus Jones.
Is that true? I mean, I guess. Well, yeah, I guess it's true because Suggs got hurt. Like
right, because Suggs was
Yeah.
out, and also like
Yeah.
look, I think of Suggs more as like a guard wing. Like I think of
Sure.
him more as like a Alex Caruso, like he is a guard, but he has wing skills, and he doesn't. The reason why they've kind of been dying for shot creation is because he's not a lead shot creator. He's a great ancillary guy, right? So now their group is Suggs, Bane, Jace, tight. Like that's one of the best guard rooms in the NBA, and they had the worst guard room in the NBA last year.
Man.
That's the biggest positional group leap I can think of in quite some time. All right, I'll try to wrap this up because I have a few more notes. I just I literally read every transaction, so I just need to.
Jesus Christ.
All right, the last one I'll say, because I've mentioned every other thing here, just deserves a shout. Oh, by the way, no, I'm sorry, I need your attention one more time.
Okay.
Atlanta acquires the rights to Muhammad Gay in exchange for a Celtics second. The Celtics get a second round pick. Did you know the Celtics drafted him?
Wait, hold on. Okay, because we also need to address that we had the wrong Mo Gay.
I know you said you were talking about they drafted a different Mo Gay who's not in the NBA anymore, and also his name is not pronounced Mo Gay.
It's not pronounced Mo Gay. It's Gee or something like that,
Gee,
right?
Yeah.
So this is the Mo Gay though.
The Mo Gay. The Celtics got a 2027 second round pick for his rights on 2023 draft night.
God damn it. We could have been Mo Gay. God damn it. I didn't know that. That's devastating. Dude, he would start for us right now.
He actually would be your starting 4 next year.
Yeah. God damn it.
That's incredible. And then,
bitch.
So the last one that we have not mentioned, the two we have not mentioned at all, you're going to love the last one I saved because I only wrote it down for you. Yeah. But the Bucks trading Dante for Wash Serge Ibaka is horrible. That whole trade just really backfired on the Bucks.
Yeah.
That's a bad one.
That is an all-time, like, I remember listening to Zach Lowe in that trade, and Zach was like uncharacteristically like kind of killed them for it.
Yeah,
like,
he was like, "What are you doing?" He was he's like, "I know you don't want to pay Dante, but like Dante's fine, and like he's young, and he's the only draft pick you've ever hit on during the Horst era, and you're trading him for old ass Serge Ibaka." They got a little bit too high on their own supply because they kept getting these wash vets and they were good for them. Because George Hill was that, PJ Tucker was that, and then they were like, we could just keep doing it, and then Serge Ibaka was just done. But the last one, this is specifically I wrote down for you. So Thunder fans are going to hate this one.
Okay.
OKC turned the Şengün pick that they got from the Celtics in the Al Horford Kemba Walker trade into 3 protected firsts. Houston traded them 3 protected firsts that they had. And then the next draft, OKC turned around and traded those 3 picks for Ousmane Dieng.
Yeah. That's their
big like error and they're fine. Like it doesn't matter, but like Şengün for Ousmane Dieng is essentially the trade. Yeah. That's his biggest whiff in this whole run.
Yeah,
but that's why you stack so many picks so you can.
I was gonna say, and that like they nailed so many other people. Like that's just gonna fucking happen. Like Danny Ainge didn't draft Giannis. Like
shit happens.
It happens. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna let you go because you have work. So I'm gonna
let's go.
240 in July.
240. Yeah, I was gonna say my phone went into no texts 30 minutes ago. So
absolute pervert mode. I cannot believe that we did this. All right,
peace. Another one. All right, peace, bro.